My name is Lynn Doring. I'm the Associate Dean for Academic and Student Affairs, and it's my privilege to welcome you here to UCLA to hear about our program. I'm a proud graduate of our PhD program, so I have a lot of love for it, and I'm anxious for people to know about how exciting it is to study here and to be part of this great campus and our impressive school of nurse researchers. So I want to emphasize, just as a beginning introduction, that the PhD program is a research degree program where you're with the expectation that graduates will become researchers and academics in research settings. There's education, there's training for education as well, but the primary goal of this program is to produce nurse scientists. So we hope you're all interested in that, and you'll learn more about it as we talk today. I'm going to run off and come back for the panel at 3 o'clock. But I welcome you again to our school, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions by the time I get back. Thank you.
Okay, so here's today's agenda. I'll go over it pretty briefly. So you guys just met Dr. Lynn Doring, and so next I'm going to introduce Dr. Wendy Robbins. So she'll go for about 20 minutes for the introduction, including the mission statement, focus, and the philosophy of the doctoral program. And then Rhonda Flano-Younger will come up, and she'll talk about the admissions process as well as the application. And then we'll have Craig Kusanoki, who's our Director of Financial Aid. He'll talk to you all about FAFSA as well as applying and scholarship opportunities and how to pay for it and all that good stuff. And then we'll have Dr. Jan Mentes, who will talk about the international research and the scholarly activities. And then at 3 o'clock, at 3:05, we'll have our faculty research and our clinical experts panel come. So we'll have a few faculty members that will come and then kind of talk to you about the research and kind of have a good dialogue there. And then we'll try to go ahead and end it at 4 o'clock. We'll have I think 2 or 3 doctoral students that will be here. You guys can have a pretty cool dialogue there, Q&A, ask them any type of questions. They'll talk about the research and things like that. And then we can end it within the last half hour if you guys have any other additional questions. Okay? So I'd like to introduce Dr. Wendy Robbins.
Thank you. So I'm Professor Robbins, and I'm just going to talk about, very briefly, why UCLA? Well, as it says, small community, big city, lots of Nobel laureates, lots of research on campus. We happen to be one of the top 10 nursing research universities. And one of the things that's important, I think, here is it's a community of researchers. And so everybody wants our doctoral students to succeed. And so you feel that when you're here. And our students get mentorship from within the school and across campus. So that's something to consider. A little bit about the mission, and I won't belabor this because I was told by another PhD student that this part of the information session was the least interesting, so I'm just going to quickly go through this. All right, so the mission, our mission here in the School of Nursing falls within the core mission of UCLA. And the core mission of UCLA is education, research, and service. The other thing is that our primary purpose falls within the primary purpose of UCLA, which is creation, dissemination, preservation, and application of knowledge for the betterment of our global society. So you can see how we are a community here, and our mission and our purpose falls within that of the campus. A little bit more about the education mission. One thing to know is that we practice academic freedom here at UCLA, and that means we believe in open access to information. So as you get ready to head out for your research projects, you will have access to all kinds of opportunities on campus that will share. It's shared all across. And that we also believe in free and lively debate within our classes, and mutual respect for individuals, and freedom from intolerance. And in all of our pursuits, we strive for excellence and diversity, recognizing openness and inclusion produce the finest true quality in the end. So that's incorporated into our education mission here. One thing I would like to say is to make it very clear, being in this program, you are being mentored to become researchers who can develop their own program of research. It's not a one-time, do the dissertation, and then you leave. It's you come here, we mentor, and when you leave with the ability to create a program of research. If you're going into academia, you will need not just a few papers, you'll need a program of research. So you will be prepared for all of that. And let's see. And then the goals of the program, of course, is that we are sure that we have accomplished being able to say, okay, yes, you know how to design and you know how to conduct. And furthermore, you base that on theory. And that theory is then leads to your being able to collaborate also with other disciplines, not just here. So that's that. Questions on that? No quiz later, don't worry. So one of the things here that we like to say is kind of our branding is nursing reimagined, nursing redefined, and the expertise of the faculty here is very important in terms of the mentorship. If you are interested in a particular faculty's area, their program of research, it's suggested that you contact them and speak with them about that, because they can shepherd you along in your thinking about whether UCLA will be able to provide you with what you need. This is the outline of the PhD program, which we like to say that we recommend that it's a full-time program. It says no online options available, which really, I mean, there are some courses that are flipped classrooms where you do a lot of work online, and then you come to class, and then because you're at the doctoral level, the PhD level, you then are able to discuss in the classroom based on that knowledge that you spent time learning online. And it says no specific days for classes. Well, you will know what day classes meet prior to that quarter, but it's not like you can always count on all of your classes being on one day. I think that's what we meant to say there. And then very important is that at UCLA, if you take a course and it's, say, 3 units, it's expected that for each of those 3 units, 3 hours of work occur in and outside the classroom. So it's not just that you get 3 units because you sat in a lecture for that time. It's that you are expected that you will also conduct your work outside the classroom. So this little formula, 14 units, 42 hours, and that's all there just to make the point that if you have 2 classes a week and you think, okay, that's one day, well, that's when you're sitting in class. And the other part is when you're thinking about constructs and ideas and research, and that may happen when you're outside of class. Okay, now I'm going to show you this, but don't worry. This is hieroglyphics right now, but it's just a sample of what the courses fall into a pattern. So it's just an example of that pattern. We have 3 approaches. You can enter as an advanced practice RN, and that's the first column. You can enter as with a master's without being an advanced practice nurse, and that's the second column. And you can enter as with a BS, and that's the third column. So they're a little bit different. All of this gets explained to you. Don't worry. You're looking worried. Don't worry. The main point is that the first year is coursework, mainly coursework. The second year is mainly coursework, and then from then on, you're in the field doing your research. So you can see that it looks a lot different as you get to the later years. Why the 2 years of coursework? It doesn't mean you can't be working on your research project in the first 2 years. If you're a person who comes in and you already know what you want to do, and you're ready to go, and you already know the methods you want to use, and you're ready to go, doesn't mean that at all. As I said before, we believe in academic freedom, and we believe in recognizing individuals and what their goals are and what they may need in terms of their practice. So, but the first 2 years, you're taking courses that will look at things like philosophy and how that relates to research and maybe the kind of research that you want to do. You're looking at things like constructs, the most common constructs, what are new and novel ideas. You're also looking at courses that will begin teaching analysis of data and begin teaching research methods. So the coursework is all designed to bring you along in the program. So 2 years you'll be in classrooms, and 2 years expected when you will be out doing your research. Questions on that? Did I do okay, Rhonda?
You're wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm new to this job. So, not to research, though. Been doing it for been funded continuously while at UCLA. And believe me, I work with collaborators across campus and across the world. So, yeah, thank you for coming. I know it's hot and not easy to park.
So you will be coming back, correct? At 3?
At 3.
Yes.
I'll come back at 3.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rhonda Flenoy Younger. I'm Director of Recruitment, Outreach, and Admissions for all of our nursing programs here. And I'm going to go over the application process, which is one of the most important parts of this info session, right? And you need to know how to apply to get admitted into the program. And so we have one application that you submit for admissions, and that's through the graduate division. All graduate programs use this same portal and application. And so you go to www.grad.ucla.edu, and then you click on Apply for Admissions. Once you get there, you have to input your personal information, but that's self-explanatory, and then it will take you to graduate study. If you are a new applicant, meaning that you this is your first time applying to a UCLA graduate program, you have not graduated from any graduate program at UCLA, you will be a new applicant. Or if you applied last year and you weren't offered admissions and going to apply again for the fall 2019, then you will still be a new applicant. Readmissions is for those that have graduated from a graduate program of UCLA. You're not a new applicant, even though you're new for the PhD, but if you graduated from our Master's of Science in Nursing, APRN program, then you will apply for readmissions. If you were offered admissions, say you applied for the PhD program last year, you were offered admissions but could not attend for any reason and want to reapply, then you are a renewal. Most of you will be new. The proposed specialization will be nursing PhD. We have 3 graduate programs. We have the Nursing Master's Advanced Practice, Nursing MECN, Master's Entry Clinical Nurse, and Nursing PhD. And actually a 4th one is going to be added for the fall 2019, and that's the Nursing DNP. But you are here for the PhD. So make sure that you apply for the Nursing PhD program. Then there's a page for your academic history and also a portal that you can upload unofficial transcripts. We can work with your unofficial transcripts that you submit in your application, and that is required. We changed that requirement just for this past year. And so you list your education only in the 4-year institution. So for your BSN and any master's degree, you list here. Then you upload unofficial transcripts from any degree program. So from your BSN, your master's in public health, your master's in nursing, or wherever you graduated from, you upload here. We do not need your associate degree transcripts if that's the case. We will also need you to upload unofficial transcripts of any prerequisites that you did not complete within your degree institution. So for instance, we'll get to the prerequisites, but if you for some reason had to retake biostatistics somewhere else and did not complete that in either of your degree program, or it expired, then if you already completed it, re-completed it, whatever, we will need that unofficial transcript showing the grade. Now, again, we will work with the unofficial transcripts, but eventually we will need official transcripts. We, in the UCLA Student Affairs Office, we prefer using those right away. And then once we admit you into the system, we can upload your official transcripts and be done with it. So we prefer you submitting your official transcripts as soon as you can, or you can wait and submit your official transcripts after you hear of your admissions. It's up to you, but we prefer to have it prior to you receiving admissions. That just helps us do our job. The statement of purpose, which is the essay, is really one of the most important part of your application. And you can either write it in a bullet form or an essay form through paragraphs. Most people write it as an essay form. But these are the things that the faculty reviewers will be looking for. Don't really worry about the 250 to 300 words. You don't have to count the words that you use. Just limit it to 3 pages, no longer than 3 pages long, double spaced. Okay? So these are the things that they want to know and want you to talk about in your statement of purpose. The reasons for graduate study, which means the reason why you are applying to the PhD program. Describe your reasons for wanting to enter the PhD program as far as why UCLA School of Nursing, why you chose our program. Include information about your background, training, and any other experience that relates to your qualification for doctoral studies. So if you have, research experience already, definitely include that in your essay. And really, why you're coming and applying to the PhD program. And I'm probably getting ahead of myself on what you plan to do after the completion of the PhD program. Provide a balanced assessment of your personal characteristics, including strengths, weaknesses, and any areas that you're working to improve. Also, briefly describe a problem in nursing science on which you would like to focus your research. This is a bullet point, definitely include that. And again, I stated why you are selecting UCLA and why you're applying to the PhD program. On the next slide is really important. I'm going to go to number 8. And this is what the faculty really focus on when deciding on if a student is going to be admitted into our program. It says that you are strongly encouraged to discuss your research with a doctorally prepared faculty. It's really a must, okay? So you can reach out now. You should reach out now to a couple of faculty and discuss your ideals as far as a research topic. The best way to reach them is via email. Our faculty know to expect emails from prospective doctoral applicants to communicate with them about what you're thinking about, and they can kind of help you wean it down some. And then if they're not the correct faculty to work with you, then they can recommend you reaching out to other faculty. But that's one thing, while you're here, you're going to have the faculty panel here sharing their research interests and what their research is on. But after they finish, I definitely encourage you to talk to them about what you were thinking about, and today, getting names of faculty to reach out to, okay? So even though it says strongly encourage, it's a must. Also, if we don't have a faculty that has a similar research area that you want to do, you're not going to be admitted into the program, okay? Also, there are times when applicants will say that they've reached out to a faculty, and that faculty is invited to the interview for those that make the second stage, and the faculty will say, I've never talked to this person. Well, that doesn't look good on the applicant part. So definitely, when you leave here this evening, tomorrow morning, reach out to one or two faculty here at UCLA. Okay? Do you have any questions on the statement of purpose at all? Come on, you guys, don't be shy.
I have class. I'll be back.
Okay, let's move on. This is something that we must require this year is the personal history statement. And this is in addition to the statement of purpose, and you can repeat yourself if you have to. Not the whole, just don't cut and paste both statements into each pull up. But if you want to take some of what you included in your statement and purpose and elaborate more in the personal history statement, you can do that, okay? So the personal history statement is to just explain more about your background, accomplishments, any life challenges you have had throughout the years. If you're first generation, multicultural experience, this is what you include in the personal history statement. Your contributions to diversity, as far as equity in education, public service, and again, multicultural experience working with a diverse population. Now, this personal history statement will also be used if you're applying for the Robles Fellowship. And Craig Kusunoki, who is the financial aid director, will speak more about that fellowship. But this is a required document now for the fall of 2019 and moving forward. We also require a writing sample to be uploaded into your online application. So for instance, if you had to write a thesis in your master's program, that's one thing that you can upload. If you published an article or a paper, you can upload that. If you don't have any of those, just a paper that you wrote in your previous program that you feel
if you graduated here and you did your comp, would that suffice?
Yes. So your comp, yes, will suffice. Or a paper that you're really proud of that, in your previous program that you got an A+ on. There's a lot of writing within the doctoral program, and they just want to make sure that your writing skill is to par. Sometimes the system will not let you upload a document if it's too large. So if you have an issue, say your comp, it shouldn't be about 5 pages, right? The comp exam?
No, it was 30 pages.
Oh, Lord. Well, if you maybe not include all the when you have to, what do you call it? Help me out, you guys. The references. Thank you.
Yeah, that's just the meat of that's excluding the references.
Well, see if it will let you upload. Because sometimes it will not allow if it's too large. I don't know what the limit is. But we can use that. Or if you just want to use the first chapter of your comp. I would say try to upload the whole thing, and if it doesn't work, then just the first couple of chapters or something. Okay? Then we really don't have to explain what a resume. You are all professional nurses, so you will have to upload a resume or a CV into the application. We asked Graduate Division to include this in the online application last year, and they did, so that shouldn't be an issue. Last year, a lot of students didn't know they had to upload their CV because it wasn't requested in the online application. These are the prerequisites. There will be a supplemental application to the PhD nursing program, and these are the prerequisite requirements. You will have to complete the GRE. The GRE is good for 5 years. Biostats is a prerequisite within 3 years. If you have to retake biostats, we recommend that you can wait and take biostats 100A in the summer here at UCLA, because biostats 100A is a prerequisite for biostats 100B and C when you're in the PhD program, and that's through the School of Public Health. So if you have to retake it, you can wait. I know a lot of our applicants took an online class offered through UC San Diego Extension. Nursing research, if you are applying from our master's, Master's Advanced Practice to PhD, then we will use your graduate level nursing research course. If you are applying as a BSN to PhD, then we will use your undergraduate level nursing course. All prerequisites have to be completed with a solid C or better. If you received a C-, we cannot accept it, and you will have to retake nursing research and or biostats if it's within 3 years. This here, the status of the licensed registered nurse, is a new requirement that, again, we added last year. So in the application, online application, it's going to ask for your RN license, and it's going to ask you to upload a copy of your RN license into the online application. This is something new that we're really excited about. And so if you're not from California and or from another state or country, we will require you to upload your resume from that state or country. You do not have to have an RN license in California for the PhD program, but you are required for a Master's Advanced Practice and DNP, but that's not a requirement for the PhD. We also require 3 letters of recommendations. These recommendations are forms that, again, are a part of the online application. The faculty have to answer certain questions that are on the form. So start talking to people now, professionals now, about your career choice. Talk to them about your research. Talk to them about your goals. They should be professionals that know you well. Supervisor is very important. But if you just started a new job and you worked for a previous supervisor that knows you better, then I would suggest that you ask that previous supervisor, not one that really doesn't know you well. A faculty is a plus as well, especially if you graduated from UCLA and have kept in contact with a faculty here. That is a plus to request your a UCLA faculty to write a letter of recommendation or a mentor that you've had in the years. But please, no family or personal friends. On the form, and it asks how they know you. And so if a person states that they are a mentor but have known you since you were a baby, that person will be considered a personal friend. Okay, so really think hard on who you are going to request the recommendation from. We suggest that you talk to them first, see if they agree to be one of your recommenders, and then you can either click a icon to say send to the recommenders as soon as you enter their name and email address, or you can wait until you submit the application, and the application deadline is December 1st, 2008 for the fall of 2018 for the fall 2019. A lot of times the email that the recommenders will receive might go to spam or clutter or their junk mail. And so I would also suggest that you tell them that it doesn't come directly into their inbox. They'll get it within minutes. Okay, so if they say they still haven't received it, then ask them to check their junk box, clutter, whatever. It will come from UCLA Graduate Division, not from the School of Nursing. Okay. If they still state that they haven't received it, you will be able to go back into your online application even after you submit it by the December 1st deadline and click the resend button to resend the form to them. Okay? Do we have any international students that did not graduate from a university in the U.S. or Canada? Okay. So you don't have a degree at all in the U.S.?
Not yet.
Not yet. Are you in a program now?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So for those international students that graduate from any program in the U.S. or Canada, the TOEFL or IELTS is waived. It does not matter if you've been working in the States for years and you graduated from an international program, you will still need to complete the TOEFL or IELTS. The institutional code is 4837 and nursing major code is 0610. The minimum GPA requirement is a 3.5. You will be considered if you have a 3.0 or better. So if you don't quite meet the 3.5 GPA, which is the cumulative GPA, don't worry about it. We do a holistic review of all of our applications, so everything, the entire student, the entire application is taken into consideration. Again, I stated you need to receive a solid C or better in the prerequisites. If you receive a C minus, that's not accepted. If you received a C minus, but you just put a C on the application, we do check and verify with the transcripts. Again, like I stated, the statement of purpose is very critical. Most of the information comes from the statement of purpose and also your letters of recommendations. Now, so your review of your online application is scored by 2 faculty, and they give you a point, 1 being do not admit, and up to 5 being excellent candidate admit. If you receive a good score on the review of your online application, you will then be invited to the second phase, which is the interview. For this year, we are going to do all interviews via Zoom. Okay? You don't have Zoom? No, it's, okay. So, well, you'll need to look into Zoom if you don't have Zoom on your computer or your work computer. But that is the way that we are going to conduct interviews this year. And Zoom also, we have a camera, and so the faculty here will be able to see you when they're interviewing. And hopefully, vice versa, you will be able to see the faculty in the room during the interview. And so, even though your person that you list as to be your mentor or faculty advisor will be included or invited in the interview, there will also be the chair of the Student Affairs Committee, and the Student Affairs Committee is a group of faculty that make all admissions decisions for all programs. Dr. Robbins will be invited as the director of the PhD program, and either the Associate Dean of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion or Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion will be invited, and 1 additional faculty, doctorally prepared faculty on the Student Affairs Committee. So there will be about 4 or 5 faculty participating in the interview. So what I always suggest is to reread your statement of purpose that you submitted for admissions, because they might ask you questions from the statement of purpose that you submitted, and not to assume that they've read your statement of purpose, but elaborate more on it. The main thing is that you understand what you're getting into. Okay? you understand what the PhD consists of and what you're getting into. And that's one of the main reasons why they want to interview. Okay? I'm ahead of myself. So that's what I just said. We put this disclaimer on all of our emails, in your packet, everything, because we are just here to give you advice on how to make your application as strong as possible. But we cannot guarantee admissions to any applicant, and we won't guarantee admissions to any applicant. So we're here to help you. There's a group of 4 of us that will email you. Please email us as much as possible. That's what we're here for, is to help you go through the application process. If you're missing documents, can you go to the next page? Yeah. If you're missing documents, we will send you an email to remind you that we're missing this document, or this person has not submitted the letter of recommendation. If you are missing any document, your application will not be reviewed for admissions, and that includes 1 letter of recommendation. So as I stated, December 1st is your deadline to submit the online application. If you are a procrastinator and wait until midnight to submit it, and the timestamp says 12:05 or 1 a.m., we will still accept your application. But if you submit it 2 or 3 days after, your application is going to be considered late and not considered for admissions. All other supporting documentations, including your GRE scores, letters of recommendations, or uploading any unofficial transcripts, are due no later than January 15th. So if your application is still incomplete by that January 15th deadline, you will not be considered. You will be considered incomplete and automatically denied admissions. This is our contact information, but it's also in your packet. Feel free to email either one of us. You don't have to email all of us. Just one person will do, and we will be there to answer any questions. And then if you plan to order your official transcripts now, we just need 1 from every institution. This is where the transcripts should be mailed to, and make sure that you include Attention PhD program. We also accept electronic transcripts. And so if you prefer to send electronic transcripts, as long as they're official documents, you can use either one of our email address to have the electronic transcripts sent to us. So any questions on the application process at all? Mm-hmm.
No, go ahead.
If we're hopeful to do Biostats 100A in the summer, is there a way to indicate that on the online?
Yes, thank you. And so on the School of Nursing supplemental application, you have to list where you completed the course or where you plan to complete the course, the semester or quarter you plan to complete it or completed it, the grade, and the number of units. So if you're planning to take Biostats 100A through UCLA summer session, then you just put UCLA September or August 2019, and that's it.
Okay. And then 2 more questions, sorry. When cumulative GPA, is that only for nursing degrees, or is that for all, let's say you have a bachelor's in nursing but a master's in something else? Is that cumulative across the board?
So for the university admissions, graduate division goes by your first bachelor's degree. So if you received a Bachelor's of Art, then you went to a BSN program, and then your Master's, then that Bachelor's of Art GPA will be considered for admissions by the graduate division. The School of Nursing, if you graduated from an MSN program, then we go by your MSN GPA. If you graduated from a Master's of Public Health but have a BSN, the School of Nursing will go by your nursing GPA. But we will need both transcripts. That was it?
Oh, and then the personal history prompt, or history statement prompt you had, is that on the online application?
It is. Ooh, yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
I know the biostat says within 3 years, but for the nursing research, it's just in general, as long as you took it in nursing school.
Correct. There's no time limit for nursing research.
How many PhD candidates do you guys accept yearly?
So we will only accept up to 12 a year. Fall 2018, we accepted 9 or admitted 9.
So if you've taken the biostat, that's one of the prerequisites for the master's here. Are you?
Yours has expired.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to have to retake it.
I'm actually interested in that. The DNP is on August 16th, is that?
Yes. Traitor.
You guys got to discuss about the DNP today too much.
My feelings are hurt. In your packet, there's a sheet that kind of explains the difference between a DNP and a PhD. So read that document when you're considering what program you're going to apply for. Okay. So now is Craig Kusunoki, who's the Director of Financial Aid.
Okay, hi everybody. I wanted to give you some information on the cost. There should be 2018-2019 nursing budgets in your packet somewhere. So that gives you an idea of what it costs to come here. Now, on the screen here, you could see that for 1 year, it's $16,907, but that includes health insurance. Health insurance is $3,900. So a lot of you may already have your own health insurance, so you could waive out of that. So tuition would really be about $13,000 if you have your own health insurance, which is really reasonable. You basically pay the same tuition as an undergrad at UCLA. Masters pay more because they have what's called a professional fee, but for PhD students, it's really reasonable. This year, it's $13,000. Actually, the Regents surprisingly lowered the tuition $60, so it's actually $12,900 something this year. First time in 20 years they actually reduced tuition, by the way. That never happens. You can see there that your estimated cost of attendance, what that means is that's not something that you pay the school. That's an estimate what your cost may be for 9 months. This is the 9-month academic year that runs approximately September 27th to June 15th. So that includes things like room and board. We give an allotment of $1,324 a month for rent, or you may own a home, and that would go towards your mortgage. Books and supplies, transportation, and personal expenses. When you pay the tuition, you pay it quarterly, so it's about $4,300 a quarter. So you pay it, the due dates would be September 20th, January 2nd, and March 20th, around those 3 dates. And it's a flat rate at UCLA, meaning if you take 8 units, you take 12, whatever the case, it costs the same. But at UCLA, full-time is 8 units, and usually the classes are 4 units. But I think usually PhD students take 12. Is what I think they do. They usually take 12 units. Okay, so what do you have to do to apply? You could see there that the December 1st deadline for a fellowship is the same as the admissions application, because the admissions application has a fellowship section. And one that I want to talk to you about is called the Coda Robles Fellowship. And you can go home later and look up that website, grad.ucla.edu, and click on prospective students in finance, and then go to fellowships, and they're going to describe something called a Coda Robles Fellowship. But basically, it's a diversity fellowship. So the school is looking for things like, are you the first in your family to go to college? Do you want to do your research in an underserved populations or something like that? There has to be some diversity elements to you, and you actually write a separate supplemental essay for that under history. What was it, Mark?
Personal history statement.
Personal history statement. So this is the statement for the Coda Robles Fellowship. If you are going to go for this, is different from your statement of purpose. Okay, so once again, they're looking for diversity elements, and if the application is still the same, they do have a preset form that has some questions on it, and one of them is, what's the highest level of your parents' education? So let's say that your parents went to a university, they're not even going to consider you. So they're really looking for students that your parents did not go beyond high school, is usually what they're looking for. So you're the first one in your family to go to college. But if you do get that, and like Rhonda said, there's going to be 12 people in the class. One person for sure is going to get it, and most of the time we get 2. This new year starting, we have 2 students. And if you get that, you're pretty much set for 4 years, because it pays your tuition and health insurance if you buy the UCLA health insurance, and you get $25,000 just to live on for the 9 months. You get that every year. The first and fourth years are the best, because the graduate division at UCLA just gives you the money. Here you are. There's your $41,919. But the second and third year, the School of Nursing pays that $41,000. So we have a requirement that if you are a Coda Robles fellow, we want you to work as a TA. And basically, if you do work as a TA, you get your tuition paid, and you get a paycheck of, I think it was around $1,200 a month. And that would go towards the $25,000 stipend that we're obligated to get you. So basically, you would get your tuition paid, your health insurance, and you get $25,000. Just the second and third year, you got to help us out by being a TA, because we always need TAs. And even if you aren't a fellowship winner, if you just wanted to TA just to get your tuition paid, that's very popular with our PhD students, because they're going to get priority, rather than our master's students. So pretty much, if you want to work as a TA, there'll be a spot for you. We pick one student, and usually it's the top-ranked student. So let's say that Rhonda's team gathers all your transcripts, your essays, what have you, and faculty look it over and they rate you, say, 1 to 5, 5 being best. I think 3 people will review it, and you get all 5s, you're probably going to be the top student out of the 12. So we would give you something called the Dean Scholar Award, and it's similar to the Coda Robles, but you can see there it's only for 2 years. But one good thing about that is they give you $6,000 in the summer. After your first year and after your second year, they throw in a $6,000 summer award. But after that, we would have to figure out, what else can you apply for here at UCLA after your second year. If you want to apply for student loans, you fill out the FAFSA. free application for federal student aid. And if you got financial aid, as an undergrad or your master's program, every college in the country uses this. It hasn't changed in years, so FAFSA.gov. And if you're applying for fall of 2019, you can see there that the deadline is March 2nd. You may not know if you're admitted at that point, but you're free to just turn in the application anyway. Okay, so we were talking about if you want to work as a TA. Well, first of all, students that get admitted and they're in their first year, we want to get them acclimated to the program. So we basically will just pay everybody's tuition. Okay, those of you that may get the grad fellowship or the dean's fellowship or the Code Robust, you're covered anyway, but everyone else that maybe did not get the fellowship, we're going to pay everybody's tuition and health insurance anyway for your first year only. So you don't have to work as a TA. Starting your second year, like I said, if you wanted to work as a TA, you get your tuition paid and health insurance, and you get a stipend. And it goes quarter by quarter. So maybe you just want to do it like 1 out of the 3 quarters or 2 out of the 3 quarters. And they even use TAs for summer if you want to do that. You could see there that there is something called a graduate research assistant. So if you secure one of those positions with a professor, that also pays your tuition. So basically a TA, you're in class helping the professor. Graduate research, you're just helping a professor with research. But either type of job would pay your tuition and you would get a paycheck. I do have to add that during your first year, you will have to take a class. I think it's called Nursing 495 or something that kind of teaches you how to be a TA. So you have to fulfill that 4-unit class before they actually place you. But usually you get that out of the way your first year. And if you had to resort to student loans, there's the unsubsidized loan of $20,500 for 1 year. Unsubsidized means the interest starts when you're in school. So it's not as good as the subsidized loan that maybe you had as an undergrad. The federal government stopped subsidized loans for graduate students maybe 5 years ago, so there's only unsubsidized loans. So the interest rate this year is 6.6% interest. So that is accruing on the loan while you're in school. But the good part is you don't have to make any monthly payments on it until 6 months after you graduate. I mean, if you wanted to make early payments, the loan company will always take your money. There's no penalty for prepayment, but you don't have to start paying it back starting 6 months after you graduate, and then there'll be monthly payments. It's a 10-year repayment plan, so they'll give you a minimum, but basically the more you pay in, the faster, the less interest. So that's $20,500. If you needed more, and once again, that figure that was up there before of 41,000 something, that's the maximum you can get per year. So if you needed more to fill in that gap, there's something called a Grad Plus loan. It's 7.6% interest. Also interest accruing while you're in school. Payments start after you graduate. The federal government does run a credit check on that particular loan. So if your credit is fine, not a problem. But if there's a credit issue, you've got to clean up your credit or get a cosigner. So basically, once you're in the program, starting your second year, I'm going to tell you about some fellowships that we have here at UCLA. One is called the Graduate Research Mentorship Fellowship, and it pays tuition, and you get $20,000 as a stipend, to pay for your room and board and what have you. There's also something from the government called a NRSA, National Research Service Award. and all these fellowships are the same. They're going to pay your tuition, and you'll get $20,000 to $25,000 a year to live on. So maybe your faculty advisor will probably talk to you about the NRSA as soon as your second year. That's for 2 years if you did get that, but usually we have a couple students each year that get that particular fellowship. Once you are reaching the end and you know you're going to go into your final year, UCLA has something called a dissertation year fellowship. So these are awards that they give to PhD students across campus, and as long as you're sure you're going to be finishing that year, they'll pay your tuition, and I think the stipend is $21,000 a year. So there are opportunities out there to secure these fellowships, but I would say the worst case scenario are students work as a TA, so you're guaranteed to get your tuition paid that quarter, and a paycheck of $1,200 a month. They're not a lot of hours. They're 10 hours a week is what TAs work, and you could do it up to 12 quarters while you're in the program. So say if someone is here for 4 years and you did it every quarter, that's 12. So unless you stayed longer than that, I don't think you would run into the maximum, because you probably wouldn't do it your first year anyway, because you're going to be covered anyway. Any questions? No? Okay, good luck, everyone.
All right, so we're going to have Dr. Jan Mentes come up. We are kind of early, so if you guys want to maybe take maybe a 5-minute break, 5-10 minute break.
I heard somebody say yes.
Yeah.
The restrooms are just across the hall.
So,
Yes.
no,
I was going to ask about I did part of my research, my job, and I don't think research is for me. I did AIDS with my previous jobs, and I didn't like to do research. So, the TN, I thought you guys are going to talk about the TNP program too. I've been going to school forever. I mean, it's like I just finished my MBA. I just got my postmaster's in second. I'm a second year.
Didn't you do the bridge?
Yes, I did the bridge, and then went to FNP, and then I worked the head of psychiatry for Anthem. Then while I was doing that, I was getting my MBA at UC Boulder. And then after I finished that, I went back to school and got my postmaster's at Azusa. Love working. And now I'm going to get my DNP. So I don't want to do the PhD.
what you can do is you can reach out to
Sue Kwan.
Yeah, Sue Kwan.
Uh-huh.
About the information session, the time, and everything like that.
So
And
she's downstairs.
the first year that they're doing.
No, well, they admitted their first cohort for 2018.
Oh, okay.
So the second cohort would be for 2019. It got approved like at the last minute. So
Okay.
yeah, but this is the first time that they're actually going through the whole process at the right time, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So Sue Kwan is literally in the Student Affairs office.
Oh, okay.
You remember second floor?
Yeah.
And her office is like right in front of the window.
Okay, sounds good. I will be talking to her.
Yeah. Well, thank you for staying.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's good to see you. I got to see you.
You have not changed. You look exactly the same.
Well, I'm retiring in June, so when you get admitted, you won't see me here.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I can say that.
Yeah.
Congratulations, I can recharge you, but anyway. Thanks.
All right, honey. Good to see you.
Likewise.
Jamie, what happened to our 20 people?
I don't know. I think maybe we should send reminders.
If you're interested, you're interested, right? I mean,
yeah, but it's still, you can forget sometimes. But I mean, for me, I'm like, I literally just came from the airport. That's why I was late.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to send a reminder. Like a day before.
How would you do that?
Because we have an email after this.
Right. All right.
I have a question for you. So I'm an international student, and like every time I try to find more, I would say you should contact
me.
Before you apply. And I'm not sure, like, is there anything extra that you guys need? I haven't opened the application yet. So.
Right. So the reason why it states that just to give additional information on what you need to submit. The international students usually don't come to an information session, so the information that was on the slide about what we're looking for in the statement of purpose, I include in that email, so they know exactly what we're looking for.
Okay.
But what university are you enrolled in now?
I am now in Cal State LA.
Okay.
I'm taking acute care NP.
Okay.
And the thing is, always also like I'm gonna finish next spring, but I'm not sure if you guys gonna still look into my application.
Yes.
Okay.
We will.
Okay.
So even though you're graduating spring 2019,
you
can apply for the fall 2019.
Okay.
We will need your bachelor's transcript as well.
Okay, you just want the transcript. You don't want it to be evaluated by somebody.
We don't want it to be evaluated. And if it's not in English, then you would need to request that university to translate it. So we need the official transcript in the original language, as well as translated with the certificate or diploma.
Okay. I think I'm gonna still email you to see the stuff you mentioned about the
Statement of purpose?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I sort of missed that.
Okay. Did you graduate from UCLA?
No,
I wasn't familiar.
I think we've emailed a couple times. I'll come to an info session in 2016.
Okay. I remember faces.
I feel like you do.
I do.
You're so sweet. Good to
Maybe
see
not
you.
names, but I remember faces.
Yeah.
How you been?
I've been well. It's exciting to come back and see how things have changed and stuff. It just wasn't the right time. I have a friend in the program who's saying that, if you apply in a granted admission, it's really not the best to defer. I don't even know if that's
We
an
don't
option.
defer.
Okay. Yeah, like just apply when you're ready.
Right.
Good. Yeah, we'll see. Who knows? but it's very cool.
As long as you guys do what we suggest here, it increases your chances. Like I said, we can't guarantee, but we're giving you all the information that we can to make a stronger application. So what you been up to other than traveling? Work?
Yeah, we're trying to travel more.
Yeah.
And especially considering before
starting the program.
Yeah. But work, it goes by really fast.
Yeah. How long have you been out now?
2 years.
Wow.
2 years, yeah. But definitely be like coming back on campus, like walking the hills. I was like, oh man, yeah. I don't know how I was overweight in college with a lot of walking, but
a lot of walking.
A lot of walking.
A lot of hills.
Yeah. So you did undergrad here?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
This is a popular room.
Oh, is that right?
For everything.
For our undergraduate students, they were mainly in here.
Oh.
Yeah.
And when you restarted that program in the last decade, I want to say?
The BS, in 2008. No, 2000. I think our first cohort graduated in 2008. So I don't know, something like that. I can't keep up with the times. Been here for 30 plus years.
Have you?
Yeah.
No.
33 years in the school of nursing.
Like anyone in 30 years.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So you've probably seen it all.
Seen it all. Yeah. Retiring in June.
Are you really?
Congratulations.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
wow.
Yeah.
It'll be an absence here without you.
Thank you.
It really will.
Yeah, 33 in the school of nursing, 35 in the university. I started in Murphy Hall, upper campus, in 1983.
Yeah.
Longer than you've been alive.
Longer than
What are you looking forward to most?
Traveling for pleasure.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I just finished my last recruitment trip Saturday. And I texted Mark, I was like, I'm not going to miss this. You know, lugging materials and setting up the booth and then talking to people and always have to smile and answer the same questions. I'm not going to miss that. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Traveling, to do what I want to do, not have to get up and go to work.
Yeah.
I don't know what that feels like. So,
I'm sure it'll be wonderful. Any place that you want to go first?
our first trip is going to be to Alaska.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, my father will be 80 in June, and so we're going to celebrate his 80th birthday plus mine and my husband's retirement. But it's going to be a family. We go on a family vacation every year, so that's going to be our family vacation for this year. He said he's always wanted to go to Alaska. We are an outdoor family. We like to camp and stuff. So even though he said he doesn't want to, we were going to rent RVs and just travel around. Yeah. But last year we went to Yosemite and we rented this beautiful large house, and he told us that we spoiled him. Oh. So now he wants to live and stay in this
like
elegant house. Yeah. It's like, how you guys spoiled me? I'd rather rent a house. Yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, that's our first trip.
That's such a nice thing to do for you.
Yeah.
It's great that you guys are retiring at the same time.
My husband and I?
Yeah. That's good timing. Because it sucks when one is retired and the other isn't. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Now, I know I'm going to cry like a baby when it comes. Because you know how I feel about the students. I mean, the students are like my kids.
It's what keeps you here.
Yeah, really. It's what keeps me here. It's what kept me here this long, are the students. And I have to remember I'm here for the students. That's why God put me here, is for the students. So I know it's going to be sad, and I'm going to cry, but I'm also looking forward to the next chapter in my life.
You can always do it.
Oh, yeah.
Say
yeah. Excuse me, you know what number Dr. Mantez's office number?
What floor is she on? I don't even know what floor she's on.
Me neither. I give her a call.
Okay. She didn't answer?
No.
Okay, we're waiting on 3 people to come back.
Yeah, they're right out here.
Okay.
I'll go try to see if she's in.
Okay. You know what room number?
No.
Oh.
I'll find her.
My dad worked here at the hospital in radiology for like 30 years, also since the 80s, and he said the same thing. He's like, even though I work on the hospital side, and that's the thing about working at UCLA, it was just, he's like, I feel like I wasn't aging because everything around me is like, the students are so young, and you see them cycle through every year, every fall, and it was just such a good energy, and so, but he loves retirement. It'll be fun.
We've had information sessions for our bachelor's program, and the parents would bring their students and their parents were alumni of our bachelor's program, and I was here when they were here.
No. Wow.
Yes, like 18, 19, 20, and then they were like, "You were here when I was here," and I was like, "Yeah, I was. Yeah, it's time to retire." Yeah.
That was so much fun.
Thank you. I just feel blessed to be able to do it, you know. So many companies are not giving pensions now, and just, you know, just so blessed.
Do you know if the university benefits are similar to the
It's the
medical center?
same as the medical center, but it's not as good as my package because I've been here for so long. But it's still better than other hospitals. A lot of hospitals don't give pensions, so you know it's still the same pension. You do get a pension. They're trying to change it. I've heard. And match your 401 or something. I've heard that's what they're trying to do. I hope they don't. But as of now, yeah, the health system still offers a pension.
Wow. Starting phase, I can only imagine how nice that is.
Yeah.
I know they've made a lot of changes.
And then health insurance.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I still, will have to pay something, but, for life, we get health insurance. So that's a blessing.
Biggest.
Yeah, because health insurance is so expensive. Cobra is like, no, I'm not even going to think about Cobra. It's just so expensive.
So for life, it's okay.
As long as you take a monthly retirement. If you take your money lump sum, then the health insurance is not covered. But as long as you take monthly, it is. So my husband's going to take lump sum because he works in the 200 building. And then I'm going to take monthly. Not as long as I've been here. I think he might have 18 years by the time we retire. And I'll have close to 36 years next year.
But then you can be covered under you.
Correct.
That is like,
Correct.
you guys played this well. You did. You did. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
Wow.
So everything now is my last. We're going to celebrate the graduates of Panza and my retirement. Yeah. So we need all the alumni to come back.
No problem. She's coming.
What time is she scheduled?
2:30.
Okay, we're not too long.
No, yeah.
I think maybe for the September one, we'll shorten the times. Yeah.
Did you pull that off the
No.
children? Oh,
No.
good.
I didn't know where it was.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Did you guys have a copy of it? Just,
Down. Nursing groups.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you tell the other young ladies?
Yeah, oh, they're
Oh. So Jan, we're missing 2 people.
okay. So you want to? No, I can wait. It's not a...
So you want me to go ahead and get started, everyone? Hi, welcome everyone to the PhD information session, correct? Okay, I'm Jan Mentes, professor here at the School of Nursing, and also have taken on in the last year and a half the Director of International Programs and Scholarships. So I'll talk to you a little bit about that, and a little bit about our programs, and a little bit about what some of our PhD students have done as well. So as I mentioned, I am the director. Dr. Maria Elena Rees is the coordinator of student abroad programs. Cindy James is my right-hand person helping me set up everything. And we do have an advisory board, which probably is in the state of flux at this point, but Drs. Bate Jensen, On, Lee, Pavlish, and Claudia Griffin are also a member of the advisory board to give us suggestions about how we might improve our international programs. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about the different things that we do. We do have coming up this fall a global health elective, which is both an undergraduate and a graduate course. And it has been gaining a lot of popularity. I think global health in general, everybody is a little bit more concerned about what's happening, what we're doing to our earth, etc., and how that affects our health. So that's one of the things that we here at the School of Nursing have been doing, and I co-teach this with Dr. Carol Pavlish. We have visiting student nurse programs, and they've primarily been pre-licensure, but we've had some graduate nurses that have also come to spend time with us, usually a week to 2 week program. We have shadowing or observership nurse programs. Right now we have nurses from Hong Kong Sanitarium and Hospital in Hong Kong with us, spending some time both here at the School of Nursing and over at Ronald Reagan, the medical center here. Visiting professors and scholars. This coming year, it looks like we're going to have a couple of professors from Korea who are going to be coming and spending time with us, and one professor from China. And they spend anywhere from like a year, 6 months to a year, learning about, a lot of them want to come and learn about education, but also research, and want to participate in some of the research that we're doing here. We have student abroad programs. These have primarily been focused on graduate level, but mostly our master's entry and advanced practice. We've never had any PhD students that have signed up for these programs, but that could be a possibility. In the past, we have taken doctoral students to Kitasato University, which we've had a long-term relationship with. That's in Japan. We've had a 27-year, I guess it's 28 years this year, relationship with them. And this year we sent 2 students from our master's entry program, and they did a very innovative and interesting program. It was an integrated case study program, and they had international people, not only in nursing, but also in other fields like medicine, physical therapy, radiology techs. They had a whole bunch of different people that came, and they spent a whole day going over a case study from all these different perspectives, not just from disciplinary perspective, but also from cultural, and talked a lot about their healthcare systems in the various areas. And they had several people from the United States, some people from Eastern Europe, and then Asia as well. So the students absolutely love that opportunity. And then we have PhD student research focused on international groups. We have, for the last 6 years, had a program to increase diversity of nurse scientists. And a number of our doctoral students, and potentially those of you here may be international or have an international connection, are interested in looking at some of the health problems of either immigrants from other countries or actual international persons in other countries. And this, I don't want to belabor this. This is just a little bit of a description of the Global Health Elective. UCLA has a Global Health Certificate program, and this course is one of the identified courses that can be applied to that certificate. So consequently, we get not only nurses, but we get people in other professions. We've had some physicians. We've had undergraduates have a variety of backgrounds that take this course. And I think it's really interesting. It's kind of I do a lot of travel because I am the director of international scholarship and programs. But this course kind of opened my eyes to a lot of different things, and it's really quite interesting. And we have a variety of people from the campus who present on topics that relate to health. It also relates to issues of social justice and equity and equitable distribution of resources. So it's been quite an interesting course. And the students have generally really enjoyed participating. And I like the idea that it's undergraduate and graduate, so there's a kind of a nice blend of students in the course. So UCLA programs, particularly research, since all of you are, I think most of you are thinking about a PhD program. And what I say to all PhD persons when they apply, your major is research, right? So thinking about some of the research that we have going on here from a global perspective, our dean is very active in tobacco cessation programs for nurses, and she's done this across the world, primarily in China, Eastern Europe, and I'm sure there are other places that I'm not even aware of, where she's really designed a online program that helps nurses to stop smoking and to also help their patients to stop smoking as well. And these are some of the other initiatives in China. Dr. Cognac Griffin has just finished up a grant, a Fogarty grant that has really been looking at HIV/AIDS in China. And she's had several scholars here. Dr. Bates-Jensen has looked at issues like early detection of pressure ulcers, and she's worked with persons from Turkey and Japan who've come to spend time here. And I don't know that she's been to Turkey, but I know she's been to Japan. I mentioned to you some of the programs that we have at Hong Kong. We take some of our faculty to Hong Kong on the sanitarium hospital on a 3 to 4 times per year basis, and we provide them with continuing education that they decide upon. Next week I'm leaving to help present a program on palliative care. Palliative care is a big issue across the world because we're all getting older. That's my area, gerontological nursing. I didn't self-disclose. So issues around keeping people functional and keeping people comfortable is more of a focus than curing people, because we know we can't cure a lot of the chronic diseases that older people are more likely to develop. I mentioned Kitasato University in Japan. We had visiting undergraduates here just last year, and Chinese University of Hong Kong also had undergraduate students who come and spend a couple of weeks with us. What's nice about the Chinese University of Hong Kong program is that they do come during the academic year, so we can have them sit in on some of the courses, and they can interact with the students, and that's what they like the best. In fact, one of the young gentlemen, nursing students, told me last year, he says, "Oh, I really like the way you teach here because you interact and ask questions of the students." And he said back in his university, the students don't ask questions. And in fact, sometimes the students get mad if you ask the professor a question because they don't want you to take up the professor's time. You're supposed to talk to the professor at the end of class. So I thought that was an interesting cultural perspective on that. And these are just some of the pictures of some of the different groups. These are the students from Kitasato. And of course they had to dress us in kimonos. And this is our dean right here. I don't know, did the dean come in and welcome us? Can I figure out how to do the color here? Anyways, the person in blue is the dean. That's Dean Linda Sarna. Student abroad programs. Dr. Maria Elena Rees is in charge of that, and usually in, I want to say, September, she takes students to Oaxaca, Mexico, and with a focus on public health, underserved populations. And the cool thing about that experience is that they live actually with a family, and so they kind of have to brush up on their Spanish-speaking skills to do that, which I think is kind of a nice opportunity. And this past year, at the end of our fall quarter in December, I had the opportunity to go to Cuba with the students, and that's a fantastic experience. And again, the students are enrolled in a elective course, but there are certain things that they have to do. And most of these experiences kind of translate into experiences with public health. I don't know if any of you have been to Cuba, but their public health system is really quite good. They have kind of fantastic statistics about keeping their population healthy. I don't think their sick care is as good as their public health care is, but they have practically hardly any mother-to-child HIV transmission, which says a lot about what they do and how they take care of it. They have very few actual maternal-child issues as well because of their system of health care. So it was very interesting, and I have some links here. But and then our PhD students with international focus. I just had a student whose committee I sat on who completed her dissertation on middle-aged and older Afghan women and cancer screening. And she was focusing really on immigrants here, not particularly going back to Afghanistan. Part of that was her background is part Afghani, and so we encourage students to follow their passion when they enter into the PhD program. Another one of the students that I know is working with Ethiopian older adults and looking at diabetes. We know, unfortunately, when immigrants come to this country, they tend to their health, in some respects, takes a dive for the worse sometimes. Some of it may be it's not diagnosed in their country of origin. Some of it may be that they take on some of our unhealthy habits sometimes when they come here. And that's a researchable question. I also have a student, or I've worked with a student who's looking at Chinese elders and end-of-life care. We know that end-of-life is kind of a difficult topic depending on your cultural background and how you talk and deal with death. So she's interested in that. And another student is looking at Ghanaian women and cervical cancer screening. So we have a number of students who are really looking at kind of a more international perspective in terms of their research. And this is some people who just graduated. And I talked about Tiffany's work on Chinese and salams. And that's what I have. Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody want to do international research? Maybe. Okay. Is that it? No questions?
No questions?
No?
Interesting. Very interesting.
Okay, well, good. Keep us in mind. Nice to see all of you. Thanks for coming on a hot day.
You guys are too quiet. We're here to help. So while we're waiting for the faculty to come back and share more of their research interest, do you have any questions for us? Mark, when you get to the PowerPoint, can you kind of bring up the statement of purpose again?
I have a question about that. I know you mentioned it was 3 pages, double space.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing so many questions. Is it combining answering all of them in just a 3-page?
Yes.
Okay.
So total of 3 pages, double space. No more than 3 pages, double space. I indicated, don't worry about the 200 to 300 word that is stated here, but as long as you keep it within the 3 pages, double space, that's adequate. But you need to also answer kind of these questions, but not answering. One time I said that to answer the questions, and so one applicant literally wrote down the question and then answered it. That's not what we're asking you to do, but we want you to pinpoint what we're looking for in an applicant. So we want you to briefly describe a problem in nursing science in which you would like to focus your research on. So really, what is the research area you're interested in? Okay. The contacting the faculty is very important. Who did you contact? Via email, phone call. Did you ask them if you're at, you can state that, I had this conversation with Dr. So-and-so. We talked about my research area of interest, and she or he agreed to be my advisor if admitted into the program. Now, each doctoral student will be assigned an advisor, and it will probably be the person that you reached out to that has a similar research. But that's not to say once you get to the stage where you want to put your committee together, your doctoral committee together, your advisor does not have to be your committee chair. It could be somebody else. A lot of times people kind of change their mind within the middle of the program. I don't suggest you do that because stick to your research area and graduate, and then do an additional research project on something else.
So the faculty members that are coming now doesn't mean we're limited to the faculty that's available in the panel, right?
Correct.
So how do we get the contact with, say, Dr. Mendes?
Right. So all of our faculty and their contact information is on our website. So if you just go to the School of Nursing website and click on the directory, that will give you the phone number and email. But it's easier to reach anybody in this school via email.
Does it mention their specialty of research?
Yes, it does. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And again, when the 3 or 4 faculty come at 3 for the panel, now is the time to and I'm sure they're going to ask you, what are you thinking about? And then they can suggest faculty to reach out to. But also, you can also look on our website and look at their areas of research and contact them yourselves. And so, again, the statement of purpose can be either bullet points but don't list the question and then answer it. Preferably, it's just write it in an essay form, but also make sure you have what they're looking for next to you, so you can make sure you highlight everything that we're looking for and include. Okay? Did that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Why UCLA? Do your homework, about our program and the university. And if there's like a specific faculty that you've been following, definitely include that as well. Again, one of the main things that the faculty look at when deciding on who to admit or who to move forward in the second stage for an interview is if we have a faculty with a similar research area. It doesn't have to be exact, but we need somebody on a faculty here that can help you reach your career go and help you with your research. Any other questions? When you came in, where did you come in on when you walked in? What were we talking about? Do you remember?
I think this is the only part of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
For the list you provided of the faculty, it says these are faculty who do direct dissertations.
Yes.
So your committee chair and advisor are limited only to these faculty.
There might be additional faculty that are not listed.
Okay.
That's why I really suggest you go to the website, because the website is more up to date than that list. Okay. There might be a few that aren't on there. Okay. And those list the doctorally prepared faculty. Okay. Now, the faculty that you contact won't help you write your statement of purpose. That's not what they're there for, but they're just there to talk to you about your research interest and guide you to another faculty if they feel they're not the right match. So that's what they're there for. Don't ask them to read your statement of purpose, because they won't and they can't. Okay? If you have additional questions later on about the application procedure or process, then the admissions staff are who you should ask the questions, not the faculty. And that was also listed, our contact information on the PowerPoint, and our contact information is also in your packet. Any other questions? That you can think of that we haven't answered yet? Up to 12, we admit. We average around 20 applications a year for the PhD program. We try to notify the applicants of their admissions decision no later than March. We're going to try to do it sooner this year. You'll probably be notified for the interview via Zoom. So look into Zoom now. Make sure you can get access to Zoom. The Zoom interviews will be in late January, beginning of February. And so we will send out an email to those that have been chosen to go forward for the second stage and give you different times to interview. We go by more what the committee, the day and time of the committee, where we could get everybody together and then send out the email to the students, and first come, first serve. So when you receive an email from us stating congratulations, you've been chosen to move on to the second stage for an interview, answer it right away so you get your first choice time slot. But actually it's worked out really well. Everybody's pretty much gotten their time choice, first choice. So it always works out.
Does the application committee look at BS to PhD versus master's to PhD?
No.
Okay.
No. So you're not missing out on anything. Yeah. So your BS to PhD, your
I'm MSN.
Okay, so your master's to PhD, your master's to PhD?
BS.
BS to
My master's
PhD?
is not in nursing.
Okay.
I didn't even know there was a BSN to
Yeah.
PhD. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And for those that are admitted into the BS to PhD, you will receive a MN. So you will receive a master's in nursing, not a master's of science in nursing, but you will receive a master's in nursing degree on your way to the PhD degree. Okay, well, we have 10 minutes, so we don't need to go get them. Sorry, there's so many space in between. Usually we have more faculty, we have more people that come to the information session. This year we are offering 2. Usually we only offer 1. That's generally in September. And so if you know of any other co-workers, classmates, please encourage them to come to the September one. But we usually offer just 1 a year, and maybe that's why we have more. We only offer 1. But you guys are special because you get individual attention. Oh, the BS? You're still on the BS to PhD?
Yeah, because I could have saved myself a little time.
Some universities offer it.
Yeah. I didn't even look into it. I didn't even think it was an option.
When did you graduate from your master's program?
I actually just graduated.
Okay, from?
Yeah. From where? Dominguez.
Okay.
Dominguez, yeah. Because I got my bachelor's there, so I said mine is both finish.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And what is it in? What is your master's?
In education.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's an MSN in education?
MSN ED. Yeah.
ED?
Yes.
Okay.
Nursing education. Yeah.
So it's a MSN?
It is MSN.
Okay.
It's a nursing. It's a master's in nursing.
Okay.
Specialized in education.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, we have our own education school of education, and so we don't offer that area of interest in the nursing program because we have education as well as school of public health.
Right. Is it common for students to have people on their committee who are faculty from other departments?
It is. It's very common for at least one committee member being from other departments and sometimes from other universities. But the graduate division, you have to explain why you're requesting this person from another university, showing that there's no one here on the UCLA campus that has that specialization. So that is an option as long as you can show you could not find anybody here on the UCLA campus with that specialization that you need to be included in your committee.
Okay. But I'm assuming your chair should at least be.
Your chair has to be from the School of Nursing. Sometimes students have co-chairs, and so one will be from the School of Nursing and one will be from another department. But that is rare. Usually the chair is from a faculty here in the School of Nursing.
That makes sense. Otherwise, why not?
Right.
Do the program.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, no.
I was going to say, so the program is, the per year is set exactly. So if I took some courses already in my master's, I just don't take that course. But
it's not a master's program. So none of your master's courses will be
transferred.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's a PhD program.
Yeah, because I took advanced already, but it's okay. Just wondering.
What packet did you receive?
I got the BS one.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think 1 or 2 courses I took already, but if it's not transferable.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you got an MSN.
Right. But some courses are, it's advanced patho. I took advanced pathophysiology. I'm looking at the bachelor's.
Through the nursing program. Yeah, so.
Through my MS, the other one?
She needs a MST.
Yeah.
Because she received an MSN. And you took nursing research.
Yes, and I took nursing research.
Okay.
Advanced nursing research and nursing research on my DSM.
Okay, so you took advanced nursing research So because you had an MSN.
Yes, I had
Yes, and you took advanced nursing research.
and advanced pathophysiology.
Yes. So that's the course sequence. So
But
we
the
gave
setup
you.
is the same, just I don't take certain like.
It's a different
Setup.
sample course sequence.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
What do you want us to do?
So we want you to share your research and expertise, and
Sit down.
and then after you all can come up front if you want.
Let's just
Okay.
sit down. It's been a long day.
Yeah. And then after that, we're going to open it up to Q&A.
Another one?
Yeah. George.
Okay, thank you. So who's going to start? Yeah. Do you want me to start, Wendy?
Oh, yeah, you can start.
Hi, well, we met earlier. I'm Lynn. And as I told you, I was a graduate of this program. And I was interested in research because as a master's student, we had a thesis option, and I was able to do a thesis as a master's student, and I kind of got hooked. So I went out and worked after I got my master's for a couple years, and then came back to the PhD program. And my clinical work was with cardiac surgery patients. And so I did a study for my dissertation about that at the time I think was innovative. But it had to do with repositioning, because we frequently left patients in the ICU on their back for a long time after surgery. So we tried repositioning and looked at changes in hemodynamics, and ultimately did tilt table studies on transplant patients for my dissertation. So then I came back. Then I was lucky because we had an earthquake after I had just graduated from the PhD program. And one of my mentors, a person on my doctoral committee who I became very good friends with, freaked out after the earthquake and left, went to Ohio to teach. So there was a vacancy on the faculty, and this was a different era when, now we have to jump through lots of hoops to hire people, but I just said, yoo-hoo, I'm interested, and I got hired and moved into her office and took over her teaching assignment and became an assistant professor. So it was really good timing for me. And then after that, I had wonderful mentors here at the school who helped me build a different sort of research program. And I started working with, again, cardiac surgery patients and heart patients looking at psychological problems. So I was then combining sort of psych and biological research and looking at depression and its effect on the immune system in that population. And I've continued to work on that. That's sort of the trajectory of my research program with a few sidelines going on. But what I learned was that you have to study something that you're interested in. And you also have to be flexible and look for opportunities, because you want to build a program of research that you can sustain over time, where there's room for continued growth and more research questions to ask.
Lynn? I'm Lynn Brett, another Lynn.
Yeah.
Lynn. I have in the past taught the statistics courses for the PhD students, but starting with our new class coming in next month, they will be taking their statistics courses in the biostat department. But I still am involved with both student and faculty research, providing consultation on methodology and statistics, and I'm teaching the research design course. But my research background has mostly been involved with substance use, so patterns and trajectories of use and non-use across time, relationship of patterns across time, whether treatment works, whether multiple treatment works, and so on. And that's because I'm really interested in longitudinal methodology and statistics that let us look at patterns over time. So I've been involved with a number of the nursing research projects as well. Not only longitudinal studies, but clinical trials as well.
Yes, and very, very helpful for the students who are, exploring newly with statistics, and you've always been able to guide the students through that very well. Thank you. That's wonderful. So my research trajectory began when I was working as an OB nurse, and it occurred to me that when anything went wrong with the child, people were saying to the mother, well, did you smoke, did you drink, did you da-da-da-da-da? And here I'd been with the woman in labor for, hours, and noticed that father went in and out, and when he came in, he off-gas because he'd been out smoking, but nobody was asking father about anything. So that just stuck here, and when I had the opportunity, I went back for my PhD, and I looked at paternal exposures and how those might transmit to offspring through DNA, and DNA and chromatin. And I did my research work at UC Berkeley in the laboratories at Lawrence Berkeley Laboratories, and that's ancient. They were, sequencing the human genome at that time, and so I was able to take a look at those techniques and actually apply them to sperm cells, and that was the beginning of my research career, and it has been a very nice program of research over the years. So that's me. My PhD at Berkeley is in epidemiology, but my research questions are based in my nursing practice.
And Wendy's jointly appointed in a school.
Oh yeah, I have a joint appointment in the School of Public Health in the Environmental Health Sciences Department. Because over the years we've looked at lots of stuff. Lifestyle, air pollution, we've looked at exposures to plasticizers and all kinds of things, occupational exposures. And most recently, as I get ready to think about ending this research career, I think about what can we tell fathers is good for you. I mean, all this time we've been saying this amount of this is bad, but what's good? And so we're looking now at diet, very powerful in terms of the health of sperm.
Put you on the spot.
It said 3:05. Your email said 3:05.
Oh, yes.
Well, anyway, Joey,
It's my turn.
Your turn.
It's not even 3:05, Laura.
We talk fast.
Oh, okay.
We do.
I don't. I talk a lot. Hi, my name's Dr. Joanne Eastwood, and I'm an associate professor in the acute care section, mostly in the master's program. And my area of research is cardiovascular, and it's women. And basically, it's my research is basically mechanistic pathways to cardiovascular disease, and that's one part of it. And the other part of it is community-based. And I did a study on cardiovascular risk reduction in young African-American females, and it was church-based. And it was with wireless technology. So we used mobile apps and talking blood pressure machines and the stream data. I worked with computer science, and it was a very interesting study. And I hope to pursue a grant this fall. Is anybody interested in cardiovascular?
Yeah, so now share with the faculty what you're thinking about, and we'll go from there. And then they can help you move forward and maybe suggest faculty to reach out to.
Mm-hmm.
So who wants to start?
My name is Ariella Carry On. I currently for 2 years work at City of Hope Oncology Medical Center in Duarte. I think because of that, with the exposure, I see a lot of my passion is regarding like end of life care and I'm also interested in geriatrics.
Mm-hmm.
And surprisingly, I mean, they do oncology and geriatrics can go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of young people who are dying from cancer that's not really talked about. But I am specifically focusing on geriatrics. And so yeah, that's my passions. That's what I'm interested in.
So we have people on
Jen Mentes.
And the dean, Dean
with cancer, oncology expert.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy Jo Bush, also oncology.
We have very strong gero faculty here.
And we have one emeritus faculty who's on callback, Carol Pavlish, who's end of life specialty. End of life would be a good person for you to reach out to.
She's also a graduate of our bachelor's program.
Yeah. Oh, you are? Oh, wonderful. Even better.
So you know Dr. Pavlos.
I do, yeah. I remember you talked epidemiology.
Oh,
yeah. Nancy, I think she was a cancer survivor.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Breast, I remember.
Yeah.
Welcome home.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I'll go next. My name is Adina. I graduated here in 2005 when you had the GMP program.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Cadigan and Dr. Mentes were both my advisors through here, which is wonderful. So I'm sorry, I was talking to them right now. My idea is to also stay within gerontology, but I want to focus on mindfulness specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see how mindfulness, if it has any impact specifically with the geriatric population, but even more specifically palliative care and or hospice, and even maybe incorporating anything to do with functionality and mobility. I'm not quite sure yet. I think I still need to delve a little bit more into the research and what it's showing, but mindfulness is the big overall umbrella with all of that. So I was thinking connecting more with Dr. Mentes, and I spoke with Dr. Cadigan back in December, who encouraged me to come here, so it's kind of where I'm at right now.
You must know we have a big mindfulness center here at UCLA. So
yes, because didn't it just open? It was
a couple of years now.
Well, I mean, actually, when I was here in 2005, so wasn't it maybe around early 2000 that it opened? I don't remember.
I don't think it goes that far back, but we have the Center for Psychoneuroimmunology, and it's part of that program. But the mindfulness is sort of the newest thing, but it's just taken off like a rocket.
Yes.
Yeah,
and I just think it could do so much good, especially with social media and everybody just attached to their phones and not focused on the present moment. I just think it can, I don't know, there's something there. I feel
and I think that's a good area. We have a doctoral student now who's doing a mindfulness study.
Really?
Yes. She was high blood pressure.
It's high blood pressure, decreasing blood pressure.
Right. Yeah.
Really? Oh, okay.
And she's almost finished with her data collection. She's starting to work with her data analysis.
Is that someone that I'd be able to reach out to?
Yeah, sure.
That's great. I didn't know that.
I guess maybe through Mark or Rhonda, let us know and we'll get one.
That would be fantastic.
Or you can go into any of the bathrooms and her posters are hanging up there. And her contact information.
There you go.
Are you looking to lose weight and have blood pressure? Just read it.
I had been asking a colleague of ours, Tammy Dockey, is in the program right now, and was asking if she thought, if this idea was worth pursuing. And she's like, oh my gosh, just go to the
That's a great
session. So, okay, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So you both work at CLC? Teach there?
Yeah, she recruited me.
Yes, she's my mentor.
And Dr. Cadigan was mine, so
Okay, well, I'm Tiffany. I actually, like I said, she actually told me, why don't you come and see the information. I wasn't exactly sure my area yet, but then the more I'm into the info session, the more I actually became quite interested. I think Dr. Mante's information on international was very interesting. I actually I don't know where I want to go about it yet, but the interesting of seeing how healthcare is across global. So it's very big. It sounds very big, so I'm not sure exactly where. And when I was doing my master's program, I actually did a research on advanced directive and education aspect. I thought there was a lack of maybe information for patients and family, because I know a lot of people think advanced directives and it's more for the dying or the end of life, which I think it's not necessary, because of course, education's my background, so I thought maybe, so I did a research on that. So one of the two, information, so that's where I'm at.
You have time to refine your ideas.
Yes, I'm not quite sure. Everything sounds interesting, and everyone's saying something, well, that sounds interesting too, so I'm not exactly sure, but I have a heart for one of the two.
So where should she go from here? If she's planning to...
I would say call Dr. Mentes, get in touch with her, or email her, make an appointment to talk further about your interest in international work, and she might be able to guide you in some way. There may be a way to combine your interest in advanced directives with international. I don't know.
Which could be true, because in my culture, my background, we don't talk about those topics and from the Asian culture. So which is actually, it could be. I'm thinking about, I just don't know exactly how to go about doing that, but the idea.
And I also think for your application, you need to have sort of you don't need to have everything figured out. That's why you're coming, so we can help you do that. But you need to have a rationale for why this is an important area, where new knowledge is needed, and kind of where you think how it fits in, how you came to be interested in it, and then who you've talked to. It's really important to indicate who you're interested in working with on our faculty.
At least a path.
Right, a pathway. Right.
And Dr. Eunice Lee has done a lot of work in Asian populations in Southern California, not with advanced directives, but she's worked a lot with the various communities here, and in Chicago, I think, too. She did some of her work.
So that's like cultural competence.
Something of that sort.
My name's Kirsten. My background is in ethics, and so I'm really interested in sort of taking a reflexive look at nursing. I'm really interested in what informs someone's ability to provide nursing care when nursing is pursued as a means to liberate them from difficult circumstances. So, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, I saw an influx of nurses trained in the Philippines who came to the United States. And I'm really interested in sort of taking a look at that and examining that. And sort of a far-reaching goal would be to sort of, at one point, develop a theory or some sort to sort of encompass and account for that kind of experience, because I've yet to sort of come across one that I feel is encompassing that way, of that sort of that experience and that type of experience. So it's a bit lofty, and I certainly haven't narrowed down the question and refined it, but something I've always wondered about, and it's an experience that's close to my own. So,
where do you work right now?
I work at Cedars. in palliative care, actually.
Well, just off the top of my head, that kind of feels like it may lend itself to qualitative approaches. So you may want to look at some of our faculty and reach out to some of them who do qualitative work, like Mary Sue Heileman, who else?
Or hybrid
Peters. I know there's more. I'm not thinking about it, but yeah, those are two good.
Carol Pavlish.
Carol Pavlish.
And she's done work with ethics.
Yeah, right. She's still. Well, we have this lovely thing called callback. So you retire and you come back and work. So Dr. Pavlish is on callback, so she's probably available, or would at least respond.
You could talk it through.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Jamila Ali. I'm an international student. I'm actually interested in the international research. Actually, one of my goals to take the PhD is to understand more about my community. I'm a Middle Eastern, and we have a lot of issues with the end-of-life care, with the acute patients' care, with even simple things like pain management, organ donation, mobility, the care for people, for people who are going to stay in hospices, stuff like that. Although the place I worked at, they have a lot of resources and it's well funded, but I was unable to understand the culture and how it affects, the thinking of the patients. They would rather stay at the hospitals for a long time, or prolong care and go to extraordinary measures, to prolong life. And for me, it just it never made sense. There's so many things that I do want to understand, and in the Middle Eastern culture. And I guess that's why, even though I'm now taking my master's, I'm still, that's why I'm thinking to apply for a PhD, because I was unable to get more experience of research and how to do it, especially the qualitative approach. I tried to take some research courses before, and I was working as a research coordinator for some time, but, it still didn't make sense for me to do quantitative designs to understand values and beliefs. It sounds much more complicated to apply that approach. So I'm still refining my ideas, so hopefully I'll be a good match for the program.
I think again, Mary Sue Heileman, someone to reach out to.
Yeah, it looks like she kind of does more like cross-cultural kind of applications as well. And it's possible to combine methods and do some studies where you're using some quantitative methods and some qualitative methods too. So that might be something that you could explore too.
So, do you guys have any other suggestions for them as applicants? What you feel is important when writing their statement of purpose or choosing their recommenders from the faculty reviewer side?
Do talk with faculty members.
Yeah.
Really do make contact. Yeah.
And recommendation letters from a faculty that you worked with. I mean, that's. I realize people are working and have been out working, but if there is a faculty member that mentored you, or you got to know well, or it sounds like several people know Jan Mentes. But from this school, but if you didn't go to UCLA, if there's a faculty member where you did go to school who you could ask, I mean, I think is.
So that's important because we're interested in making sure that all the students who come here have a good match with a faculty person who can mentor them and help them grow in the kind of research that they're interested in. So, your statement should support the fact that you can provide, the name or support of somebody who shares your interests. And then to just be as clear as you can about what you want to do. We don't expect you to have a research program all lined out, but to explain what, and just like you all did orally now in writing, why you're interested in the topic and how you got to that point. And, some discussion of what your goals are after you would get a PhD.
And do think about being really realistic about the commitment that you make when you become a student.
So I'm sure you guys talked about
the
curriculum and everything. I just want to say that PhD education is different than any other kind of nursing program you've had before. Because it's not so prescriptive. Okay, we have 2 years of coursework, but even the coursework that you do is really helping you build towards your science. So everybody will be working in a little bit of a different way. It's not like everybody learns the exact same thing. You may learn the same principles, but you're always going to be applying what you've learned in a research design course, in a theoretical concepts course. About the emphasis will be on how to apply that knowledge to what you're interested in.
And not just your knowledge. I know, like in the master's program, you go through it, you take your tests, and you write a little paper. But this is to improve your writing skills too, and to refocus them towards your research. So that's what each of the classes are building upon.
And our cohorts are generally pretty small, so you get to know your classmates very well. I think most of our cohorts are really bonded. It's a bonding experience, and kind of keep supporting each other after they finish their coursework. And we've started an effort where, like, once a quarter, we have each cohort come and present where they're at, and we find that really helpful because after the coursework is done, you're kind of on your own to make progress. So if you come and you meet with your friends that you've been through the first 2 years with and everybody's talking about what they're doing, it kind of keeps people going.
Any other questions
about the program, about anything?
I have a question. You had mentioned it kind of keeps people going. What's the average time that it takes for people to get through the PhD?
The ideal time is 4 years. I would say that the median time is 5. Yeah. Life happens.
Right.
Yeah. So, and after the course, like I said, you kind of move at your own pace. So it depends on the breadth of your program, or every dissertation has its most. The highest mountain to climb. Sometimes it's the data collection, sometimes it's the analysis. So, it varies. I think I know how many former students who had like 2 babies in the program or something. That'll slow you down.
And it depends on what kind of a study you'll be doing, too. The mindfulness study that is nearing completion, she's been collecting data now for, I think, about 8 or 10 months. So it's been a very long process because she's had to have each small group learning mindfulness come several times to go through their program. And then she wants to follow them up as well. So it can take a lot of time. Another student is halfway through his data collection. He's been collecting data for 6 months. And he's planning to go for another 6 months. And that's just to get people who are eligible to come into his study, who come into the emergency room with certain characteristics. But it can take a long time for some studies to collect data.
I know you. I'm sorry. I know you had mentioned earlier about not working but unfortunately they're a little less.
Yeah, we're real realists when everybody works.
Right. So, how can I even ask this? What do you see are the best ways that people juggle that? What do they do? How much do they drop in their work? I mean, I would love to not work, but unfortunately, 2 little kids and a mortgage won't let me.
I think it's quite variable. We actually have a fair amount of financial support available. So if after you're admitted, you need to meet with our financial aid officer, who will hook you up as best as possible and give you advice on that. And then, of course, if depending on what your financial situation is and what your life is like, you may be able to do some things like change your shifts to the weekend if you're working as on staff, or work, change hours during the day, or if you're in a salary position, maybe you have more flexibility to just get your work done and nobody's making you being count your hours. It depends on your situation. And once you get through the coursework, again, there's more flexibility depending on what you're trying to do.
But it's just those first 2 years.
Where it's difficult.
So I would suggest you guys talk to Tammy and see how she worked it out. Because I know she was still teaching at COC while in the doctoral program. Mm-hmm. So kind of talk to her and see, how
She's supposed to come with me today.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, so that definitely talk to her.
I think there's been an effort to try to keep coursework condensed to a relatively few number of days during the week through the first 2 years of courses. However, like either 1 day or 2 days maybe. However, the new statistics courses meet 3 times a week plus a lab, which may be a 4th day a week. So that's going to be a change in people's schedules, and we haven't seen how people handle that yet.
Is that the summer course?
Yeah, so I suggested to them, if they have to retake biostats, to wait and take biostats 100A next summer, so they'll have 100A completed.
Right, that's a possibility, and that takes one course out of the fall quarter.
Okay. So it will meet the prerequisite plus one of the courses within the curriculum.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the B is the 3 days a week?
Right.
Yes, and the two stat courses in the second year also meet 3 days a week plus a lab.
But they're usually a term, so how many?
10 weeks.
10 weeks, okay.
Yeah.
From your perspective, do you see that the students have more challenges like in the first couple of years in PhD, or is it towards the end?
Different kinds of challenges.
Yeah, different kinds of students face different challenges, just like you said, every dissertation has its. Yeah, some students will struggle, not a lot, rarely, but if someone's going to struggle, they can either struggle maybe at the beginning with the coursework, but if they get through that, then maybe they'll conduct their dissertation quite quickly. Mm-hmm. Other students will breeze through the first 2 years and
stuck on
it. Yeah, and then that's when it depends on the person and where you are in your life at that time. And it's not, I said some, but that's not a lot.
I know it sounds nebulous, but things happen. Life situations happen, and that slows some students up. Parents, children, problems. And then from our side, things happen like you're doing a research study, and all of a sudden in the middle, they stop making that test that you were doing, or the environment changes. I was doing a study on stents, cardiovascular stents, and all of a sudden drug-eluting stents came out in the middle of my dissertation. So, in my data collection. So that changed the whole, healthcare changes. So there's all kinds of things, but you work through them.
Mm-hmm. And the purpose of the dissertation is to demonstrate that you have mastered the research process. It's not to solve all the problems of the world.
Right.
Yes.
So
Right.
I think what we've kind of learned over the years is that we try to encourage students to make a fairly narrow dissertation that we're sure you can finish in a reasonable amount of time. And it's just the start of your research career. It's not the whole of your career. So
it's a process, so that you know the
people to
research
be-
process. And then go out and cure world hunger.
Yeah, and take advantage of having the mentors that are here, and at the beginning your advisor, and then after that your dissertation chair. Don't be afraid to knock on their door frequently. Keep that energy going. And I think students who do that tend to make quicker progress.
Reach out past the walls of the School of Nursing.
Oh, yeah.
And what's good about that is you have to take 2 cognates still, I hope. 2 cognates, and those are in different departments. So you get to meet different people. Like I took cardiac epidemiology in the School of Public Health, or women's theories also in the School of Public Health, and got to meet a whole new set of students and a whole new philosophy, way of teaching. And you get to network with different people because there's lots of interesting people, research going on here, and everything else. The opportunities are great because it's UCLA and the best of the best are here.
And you have to have at least one person on your dissertation committee who's not from the School of Nursing. So it pays to get to know people early.
Did we say how many people had to be on the committee?
4. Is that right?
I think it's 4.
Used to be 5.
Yeah,
right? 4.
it's very specifically delineated by the graduate division, and there have been changes recently so that your chair has to be from your department, nursing in this case, but the other members do not. And so it used to be that most of them were from nursing, and one could be from a different. But now, you reach out to people who will help you with your research. And it doesn't matter where they sit on the campus.
But they have to be from UCLA.
You can have one person from outside.
Yeah, you can have one
from another university, but they have to meet certain requirements.
Yeah.
And I told them that I thought, maybe I'm incorrect, but I thought that the person outside, you have to prove that there's nobody on campus that has that specialization before they will approve the outside person.
Oh, off camp from a different campus.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably so. Yeah.
Sure. That's a question your chair will help you solve.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, we have a wonderful student affairs department too that can help us with those kind of issues.
Yeah. And I'm sure that Rhonda and Mark already mentioned this, but through grad division there are lots of sources of information and support as well. So.
Okay, well, the student should be here any minute now, and then you can have the opportunity to ask the enrolled students questions. And one can be if you worked or not. But the curriculum changes all the time, so while they were going through the program, it could have been more feasible for them to work because they completed the stats course here in the School of Nursing. So their curriculum was a little different than the new curriculum now. But thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. You all apply.
Yes.
So didn't that help a lot to talk it out?
Yeah, that was helpful.
It was helpful. And like Dr. Doran said, just what you guys shared is what you need to put on paper and include in your statement of purpose. That's exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah.
It's only 2. I know.
Well, sometimes Judy, she became as well. She did that. That was yesterday after.
She should be on there.
Should be great. We'll see.
So before we get started, I have to say that we can always depend on the same wonderful students to participate and share and encourage. So Alan and Cherie, they every year, and Cherie told me that she will come every year until she graduates. And so that's what we have, just wonderful students in the doctoral program and all programs, but they're so giving of their time. And so, Alan, we'll just let you start and then let Cherie
catch up when
she comes. So just introduce yourself and let them know where you graduated from and all that good stuff.
All right. Hi, guys. Welcome to UCLA. I am Alan. The very first one there. I started with an ADN program. So ADN to my BSN and my MSN. And then I taught for a good almost 8 years in a private nursing school. And I realized, that became very stagnant, teaching courses after courses after courses. But my research interest was still there because I was still working clinically at Children's Hospital since 1999. And something really bothered me when I transferred to a department called post-anesthesia care. And that sparked my research interest. So now I'm here to start that. So I applied I got accepted in 2015. I applied in 14, I think, because you know it's a year. So you apply a year ahead, or December of previous year. So I started 2015. I finished coursework June of 2017, and from then on, it's all independent study now, where you work with your advisor or your chosen chair for your committee. And a lot of the independent study involves time management, commitment, and a little bit of discipline on my part, if I may. Okay? And I'm always the oddball out in terms of which population to do. You're probably thinking I'm doing a research on pediatric population. I switched while I was in the coursework. So after the first year, I changed from patient population to a nursing population. So I'm researching nurses this time because what I found out when I was going through the coursework is doing the lit review classes, I found that there was already a ton of research done on pediatric emergence delirium, but nothing on the nurses' side on how they react to it, their feelings, so on and so forth. So I, not quickly, but meticulously found my way diverting my research study into, instead of patient population, patient outcome, to nursing outcome. So that's where I stand right now. I'm hoping to advance this year to candidacy.
and then hopefully by either 2019 or 2020 I'll graduate. That's my end goal in the program. So you need to set little goals first while you're taking courses, and then once you're independent study, then a little bit of a bigger goal. For example, in fall of 2018, I will finish 2 chapters or 3 chapters out of the 5 or 6, so you can advance to candidacy. Also, if you are given a chance to do a pilot study with IRB application, feel free to do that. That's a great experience, working with a mentored faculty mentor that will guide you through. I did one for qualitative study here while enrolled in the coursework, and that gave me an experience of how to deal with the IRB at UCLA, and have to be very patient with yourself and not just blame everybody else, because in the long run, it's you submitting the IRB to the people at UCLA, and you're the only one that can explain to them that this is what I want to do. They don't know what you're trying to do. They're just trying to proofread that you are not exposing or violating any other things that can happen to a human subject that you're planning to interview. So if you get a chance to do that one, because then that will help you prepare for the dissertation part when you're applying for the IRB for that portion of coursework.
So what schools did you graduate from?
Oh, Antelope Valley College in Lancaster, California for my ADN. My bachelor's is University of Phoenix in Pasadena. This is when they would go to hotels and do classes there. And then my master's program was also at University of Phoenix in Pasadena. I finished it in Pasadena. It took me, I don't know, to finish my bachelor's, because then I started working after the ADN, and then I enrolled in the bachelor's. By the time I completed the BSN, it's probably a lag of 6 to 9 years. My manager at Children's was the one that's very encouraging. She saw in me that I can mentor, I can be a preceptor, and then I can teach. She's like, did you have your bachelor's degree? And I'm like, I think I'm 2 courses away from finishing. She goes, finish it, I'll give you your time to finish it. And then when I finish it, she's like, why don't you enroll in the master's program? You have the gift. So luckily, I had a good manager that pushed me through, and then I listened to her, and then when I finished the program, she actually created a position for me at Children's in the department that I worked at now as an education coordinator, and then became an education manager. But then the whole, systems, like hospital officers change, when they take over, they got rid of the position, they changed the title, but there's still that education person in the recovery room that I started from 2004, and up until now it's still alive. So I'm one of the pioneers there, I guess. I'm proud to say that. So here I am, 2014 is when I applied. I got accepted 15 and did the coursework right away. It's a whirlwind. While you're enrolled in the coursework, quarter after quarter system, by the way, is 10 weeks. If you're used to 16 weeks.
How many students were in your cohort?
Started with 12, and then one withdrew while we were in the 499, the TA class, after 5 weeks maybe. The drive was too long for him, he said. So it was more of a personal reason for him. Yeah, question.
How long did it take for you from your master's to decide, okay, I'm going to do?
Oh my God, so I finished my master's in 2006.
Okay.
And then I worked because they said you need to work at least 2 years full-time with master's degree in order for you to teach. So I did that, the children's education coordinator, manager, bedside nurse. I did everything. And then one of my coworkers was enrolled in a private nursing school, and she told me, she goes, you need to teach our PEDS class. Our professor is horrible. Blah, you hear that from, no, I don't want to teach right now. She's like, you're good at it. I've seen you with the students recently. So encouraging. So I applied, not thinking I'll get it. And then, sure enough, they accepted me. And my mentor at that school was a graduate of the program here, Dr. Divina Jordan. And she encouraged me too. She's like, apply now. I'm like, no, let me go teach first for a little bit before.
What projects were you on the asking?
West Coast University. Yeah. Any of you there too?
I just started there.
You just started? Which campus?
North Hollywood.
That's where I'm from. They know
But
me.
I also teach with her, so.
Oh, what's it?
You can't go too far.
Yeah.
At College of the Canyons up in
Yes.
Oh, see.
Yeah. So it's my third job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot her name. There's a
Tammy.
Tammy Backy, yes. She's here.
Yeah. What do you find helped you most juggle between work and school and life?
Schedule, and then you need to be very disciplined. We folded 2 papers. Oh, hi, Sherry. Here, Sherry, come on up here. Do now, we have folded 2 papers, do later. And you have to balance between the 2. Okay, now it's your turn.
Sorry, I'm from the other side of town. I'm Sherry, and I'm a PhD candidate here at skilled nursing. And do you want to
introduce yourself?
Where you
where you went
graduated
to
from,
undergrad,
graduate, where you work, what's your research?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, well, Alan is like my best friend of the program.
We work at the same hospital.
Yeah. So I went to undergrad here at UCLA. I have a bachelor's degree in sociology. I graduated in 2004, and then I did the master's entry program in nursing at UCSF up in the Bay Area, and then I moved back down to LA because I'm originally from Southern California. And I did the RN residency program in pediatrics at Children's Hospital, LA. So I've been there for almost 10 years now, this coming September. My clinical background is in med-surg and rehab, and then I transferred over to perioperative services in surgical admitting, where I help prepare children for surgery. So about 7 years, it's been a while. I've been here for a while. I started the PhD program here, and my dissertation is on Filipino-American parents and how they manage care for a child with autism spectrum disorder. So right now I'm recruiting for my study, and that's been kind of a challenge, but I'm working through that. So that's where I'm at right now.
Questions?
So, how much you both worked while in the program?
Yes, and when I started the program, I thought I can do it working full-time and going to school full-time. Wrong for me. I realized winter quarter was like, there is no way in hell that I can do this. And managing 2 full-time, because going to school is practically a full-time job. I dropped to part-time. And then sometimes that part-time schedule is still way too much when the paper's starting to be due almost every week. So I talked to my boss, maybe I can do a little bit of work sometime on the weekend just to pick up hours, and that seemed to help. But if you have ways and means to cut down work, and I understand everybody needs to work, but if your goal is to get the degree and finish the program, a little sacrifice will benefit you a whole lot towards the end. That's what I'm learning now.
The coursework that you took were classes mostly, are they during the day, afternoon?
Yes,
evening?
they are daytime. I don't know.
Mornings?
Morning till afternoon.
All day.
Yeah,
All day.
like 8-hour days. But sometimes they cluster. When I was taking my coursework, it looked like they kind of clustered our classes on maybe 1 or 2 days. And then the remaining days, my classmates worked. I worked per diem at CHLA because my manager's pretty flexible with the schedule, so that helped me. And I had classmates that commuted from pretty far away. I had a couple of classmates who lived down in the San Diego area, and they made it work though. They would maybe stay a night here in Westwood at a hotel. They carpooled together, but they were pretty long days. But I felt like they were clustered enough, so if you needed to TA or you had a research assistant position, you were still able to kind of squeeze that in.
And when you mentioned TA, and so I know that you were the coordinator for the TA, so could you kind of share about TAing here?
So being a TA is one of the most rewarding experiences you could have. Yes.
I agree.
You get to work closely with the professors. You also work with staff because they do some training, as well as the students. And one of the perks of being a TA is not only getting teaching experience, but you also get free remission, which pays your tuition for the quarter, and you also receive a stipend for the month. So it's a really nice it's a nice thing for doctoral students, and I know it does take time. Some TAs work 25%, which means 10 hours a week, and others work up to 50% time. It really depends on how much you can handle and how much you can balance that with your coursework. I mean, I think they recommend about working 25% time. But it gives you an insight into what it's like to be in academia. And
at the university level.
At the university level, yeah, and it's really eye-opening.
It's very different from the private school that I taught at, which is West Coast University, where I'm the teacher and I do everything. I get to see now from the university level what a TA does, what the professor does, and you work closely with them. And I was like, oh, I wish I would have had a TA when I was teaching at that school because of the number of students. Here, the maximum is what, 6? The MECAN is 60? 70 is the max.
Yeah.
So
there are some classes that combine them, but they have usually 2 TAs for classes like that because the university maxes, and there's like a ratio. Like if you have so many students, you can have this many TAs. And you also have TA training, university-wide TA training, so you'll be able to meet other TAs in different departments, and it's kind of like a really big TA conference, and it happens every September for 2 days.
It's a Monday and Tuesday of week 0 or week 0?
Week 0, yeah.
So is that included into your regular coursework?
You do get 2 units for every 10 hours you work as a TA. So you do enroll in Nursing 375, which is the Nursing Education Practicum. Yeah.
Oh, no.
No,
I think
it's called something else. Like teaching, apprenticeship or something. Yeah, something like that.
There are 2 courses embedded in the program in order for you to be a TA for UCLA. Okay. And it's
an optional.
It's mandatory.
It's required.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah.
It's required. Even though I still have to take it, even though I was already an associate professor at the university, because it's a very different from the UC system. I took it and I've enjoyed it. I learned a lot more than what I thought I already knew as an instructor first and then a professor.
Additional kind of a learning experience in the academic side into research kind of combined.
Yes, because they have a different system here. For example, other schools use Blackboard. Mm-hmm. Here it's
CCLE.
CCLE.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same platform, but how you go about it or how you run it, how you access things is a little bit different from what the rest of the world is known for, they're known to. And I don't know what they will tell you about TAing, but I TA'd after 2 quarters, and then.
Well, I know your first year now they're recommending you not TA, and I mean to get paid, not the courses that are in the curriculum, and that's why the School of Nursing will pay your tuition for the first year. If you do not receive a fellowship, everybody gets the tuition covered for the first year. And then the second year on, you can TA and then not worry about paying your tuition. So it's a win-win situation. And you're giving, your tuition's being covered, remission is called.
And then you have a stipend every month.
You have a stipend and you're giving back. And
to help with income,
Yeah.
And it's beneficial, really beneficial.
That's how it was my first year. They didn't recommend us to TA our first year, so I started TAing the summer before my second year. That's when I had started. Because they paid for my tuition my whole first year, because I didn't get a fellowship. So, but it is rewarding. It's something to look into.
So it's all doable.
It's doable.
It's very doable.
It's just a lot of time management.
Time management, self-discipline.
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest part.
And my first 6 months or 7 months that I attended my first year of coursework, I decided to take public transportation. I took the bus every time just to save money on parking and school. And it's just an 11-mile drive, but in LA, an 11-mile drive. So.
Mark and I take public transportation.
Yeah, I do too.
She does too.
I don't have a car.
Yeah. And if you guys live in the Valencia area or no,
She goes to Orange.
Okay, because they have like a bus from the Valencia area that comes directly to Westwood.
I know. I think, but I thought it was just for UCLA employees, so students.
No,
because I know
anybody.
Yeah, because we have somebody. It's like a Greyhound type bus. Right.
Yeah.
She said I have to wake up at 5:30 and take the Greyhound. I'm like, huh? Because she works at UCLA. She's like, yeah, we just take the bus.
But that's it beats driving.
Right. And you can sleep and
check email.
And then the Metro passes for the bus pass for here is $60 per quarter for 10 weeks compared to.
How much is parking now for students?
I just paid $12.
Yes, the whole day.
That's
per day.
Per day.
But I'm just saying, I just paid
Right.
I think it's almost $800 for the whole year if you apply for parking.
So looking into public transportation or even carpool or van pool, it's worth it.
Yeah.
I love it. I hate it when I have to drive into campus. Absolutely hate to. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Judy McKelvey, and I'm a doctoral candidate here. Hopefully, we'll be finishing in the fall. And I'm doing a quantitative research on looking at heart health and the mothers and wives caring for our veterans with traumatic brain and PTSD. And
so where did you do your undergrad and graduate?
I did my undergrad a long time ago at Georgetown University, and then got into basic. You get your basic nursing, so I did. That's where I got my ICU, and then right after that, I went up to the University of Washington to get my master's, and that's actually where my research focus started. I had the privilege of working with Dr. Nancy Fugate Woods, who is just a premier researcher in women's health. And she primarily does menopausal research, but she was the one who taught me research. And when I did my master's thesis, I was probably one of the first people in the country to look at the differences between men and women in recovery from myocardial infarction. So then, I got finished my master's, and then life happened. So then I went to do several jobs of home health care, critical care education. In the meantime, got married, took care of a veteran for 21 years. And I was funny because Nancy said, she wanted me to go right on for my doctorate, from my master's right on to my doctorate. She says, you'll never come back. You'll never come back. But I just found that I reached a plateau and where I could get at the master's level. And at that time, I came into the program. I was doing clinical research. I was a clinical research coordinator. I had several positions. My most recent position was a coordinator over at Cedars, working with their heart transplant doctor, doing FDA clinical trials. And I just was doing all the research. I was doing all the work. I was doing all the regulatory work. I was getting all the patients. I was getting all the data ready for analysis and stuff. And I was handling like 10 studies at a time. I said, I want to do my own research. And so that's what prompted me to come into UCLA and do my own work. So now I'm going to be a brand new PI, my very own PI.
And did you work while in the program?
My husband was very sick, and so pretty much as I worked with as a teaching assistant, and the teaching assistant program really got me through most of it. Actually, I'm only ending up paying for 1 year of tuition because I was able to do enough teaching assistant to get me through. I was hoping to work, but when Cedars wouldn't let me cut down to part-time, so that was fortunate.
I said at least there's some kind of support and help too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Now, all of you are towards the end of your research.
They both advanced. I haven't. So.
Can you tell us about those times where I'm sure you've had to hit a wall where you just wanted to give up and be done and not do it, or did you hit that? And if so, what did you do to push through?
I can speak to that one because I think I'm at that point right now. We're hitting a wall and the writing is never coming. It's never going to come. I can't write. I can't do anything. And you need to find a friend or a mentor or somebody in the program that will encourage you and understand advisor, mentor, that they know what you're going through. Even the professors, even your academic advisor, they know because they were there in your situation before also. You just need to find self-acceptance that yes, there is going to be a wall, there is going to be that point in your academic student life. I'm like, why am I doing this? Why do I want to suffer through this? What benefit will this do to me in the long run? And then I look back again, I'm like, why did I go through that 2 years of coursework if I'm not going to finish? So that was, to me, that was my driving force now. And then I'm like, no, wait, what about what I promised to myself that I'm doing this research to give back to my, in case of my study, my nursing community, the profession that gave so much to me. And that's what drives me the most now, is I need to give back, whether it's patient outcome. Well, me as indirectly will be affecting the patient outcome. I need to take care of the nurses that are taking care of the patient. So that's my driving force right now. And maybe being enrolled and having that contract of the independent study that you're enrolled in 10 units or however many units. I think it's that contract because during the summertime, there's nothing, so you're like, okay. But then you have academic mentors that are like, okay, let's meet via Zoom, and I need to see your work the day before. So there are faculty that will kind of be on your tail if you're falling behind.
So it's every 10 weeks, and is there a break or just next quarter?
There's a little break. It depends on which quarter. Like after fall quarter, we have winter break, which is a little longer. So it's
winter
about
break, like the holiday break.
Holiday break. It's about 2 or 3. Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks, depending on the year and how the calendar is. Spring break is about a week, and then the summers are a couple of months.
Like a regular summer.
Like a regular summer.
Yeah, and
10 weeks. It's pretty fast.
I don't think there's required coursework built into the program, right? For summer quarters.
I don't think so.
No.
You know, they changed the curriculum. Now the entering students are going to have to take biostats through public health. And so that's adding days. But I don't think they've added summer.
I don't think so.
No, but no coursework. Just the
they changed that though.
Oral written quals.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It's summer.
Summer, yeah, after your first year.
And that's not coursework, and that's a take-home exam. So yeah, you pretty much have this summer off.
Yeah, it's full time. It's like 12 units is full time.
Yes.
It's a bit more.
And then when you enter the independent, after all the coursework, the independent study, 8 units is full time for 596.
596 for if you're prior to candidacy, and then you switch over to 599 when you after you advance. So when you're advancing to candidacy, I don't know if we address that yet.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So then, so your oral qualifying exam is the exam in which you can advance to candidacy. So you technically pick committee members for your dissertation. One who's your advisor, and this might have changed since I started, but it's when we have a chair, and then how many from the School of Nursing has to be in your committee?
Well, Wendy just said that
it's different now.
Just one from the actual school.
Okay.
Yes, it's changed. So I'm not. It's changed. So I'm not sure anymore. But
before it used to be at least the majority. But now it's only one.
Because I have
and one from another school, but there's criteria.
I have 3 from the school. One is my chair, and one from the School of Public Health. And then you have your dissertation proposal that you have to orally defend in front of your committee members. So you, depending on who your advisor is, they have a specific format, and the school has a specific format they want you to use for your chapters. So that's your intro, literature review, theoretical framework, and methods. And then you develop your research proposal, and then you give it to your committee members ahead of time for them to review. So it's a lot of back and forth, and then you actually present it in front of them for them to approve it. And that's when you could start applying for IRB and carrying on with your study. The
Institutional Review Board.
Yeah.
It's actually, because you're going to be working with different subjects.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's very regimented the first 2 years because you get all your coursework done. And then it just breaks off. Some people come in, they know exactly what they're doing. They have their topic. Some people also have had relationships. So they say, yes, I'm going to work with Dr. So-and-so. I'm going to continue in their research, but I'm going to take it this way. And they can just click right on through. There are people who get almost their whole proposal done by the end of their first 2 years. That's probably the exception. But probably within the next year, you can get your proposal done, get your IRB done, and then start recruiting. Where I got held up, I took a little bit longer. My problem is I had one question. I was going to do caregiver stress. That's always been what I wanted to look at. But my problem has been in my setting. Because originally, having come from Cedars, I was just going to do caregivers of heart failure patients, be in a clinic, get my subjects, and move on. And I was always going to be very quantitative. That was just because I've been trained in medical research, so that's where my focus was. And I didn't want anything to do with this qualitative stuff. I wanted that hard because I actually wanted to do an intervention. I wanted to do a caregiver intervention, a health promotion intervention, but you had to do a descriptor first. So it took me about 2 years to actually get through to write my proposal because I kept on having to start back over again. Hartfield, I ended up getting a Jonas scholarship, so somewhat paces you with where you get your money. So I came in and I got a Jonas VA healthcare scholarship, so then I had to work with veterans. So I said, fine, my husband was a veteran, no problem. But then I went through all these different diseases. I was going to do polytrauma, but that wasn't a good definition. Then I was going to do traumatic brain, but I couldn't get into a clinic to get a population, and that's what really held me back. I got all my proposal done. I moved up to the candidacy. I had no setting in which to recruit from. And so trying to find, and then I tried doing online recruitment and got very, very poor results from that. And so that's what my struggle was and what's taken me so long. So actually I was 6 years into the program and I had to redesign my study and add a qualitative piece to it and do a mixed method. I also added, I was originally just going to do traumatic brain injury, added the PTSD, and that seems to be the ticket that's going to help me finish up. But I stopped at recruitment like for almost 2 years at just 7 participants, and that wasn't enough to do. And so that's rare, though. That's really unusual that happens. Why did I keep going on? Because I had all these loans. And it's not like anybody's going to hire me with a half a PhD. You have to.
Oh no, I was just thinking it's funny because that's, if I'm being honest, that's part of the reason I want to go to work, because it gives you access to a population and it sort of means recruitment easier, I imagine, if your subjects happen to be in a work setting.
If you have a very good relationship with your manager at work, you can probably cut down to the level where you don't lose your benefits, for example, like your medical and dental, so you don't have to. But the school offers it too, don't get me wrong. The school offers it also, the medical. So if you're willing to just go per diem and get the insurance here, they have it. So don't even worry about that.
So insurance is for you.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just go through the ASH Center for my care. But yeah, and also like if you, it does help if if you still have your job. Sometimes they do have, like at Children's Hospital, they have the Institute for Nursing Research and Interprofessional. And there's a lot of support that you can also get for your study. Like for example, they have works in progress. So Ellen and I were invited to speak in November about our research to the CHLA community. But it's kind of nice because we'll have an audience and we can talk about where we're at in our progress, and they give us feedback.
They're all researchers also.
Yeah, so it's really neat. And they also give us travel scholarships there if we needed to present at a conference. And they also reimburse tuition and have scholarships available too. And like Julie was saying,
the Jonas is another way also for funding.
For funding.
Here.
Your research, right?
Years for school. It's a leadership program. I just finished. It's a 2-year program, and now I'm a Jonas alum. And they help pay for our tuition. They gave us a stipend every quarter. And there's
also like $20,000.
$20,000 over 2 years.
For 2 years. Yeah. See, I did that my first 2 years, and so. I thought my biggest problem also was because I was working with veterans, and the VA is very, very hard. I thought through my husband I would have the connections, but then you're also really competing with physician researchers, and there's so much different researchers there that it's very difficult to get into. So, yeah, if you can keep your job, to at least keep that. Like everybody has, like another gal. I'm just trying to think how different people. Another gal, she did a mixed methods with latent TB, and she was a nurse practitioner. She taught at Loma Linda, but she also had clinic duties as a nurse practitioner. So she was able to use the TB database out there by Loma Linda, get her quantitative data from there, and then she did a qualitative. She was like really, really bright. Another gal, and people come in with such an idea. And sometimes life just changes. You start getting into the review of the literature and say, well, gee, it's important to me, but it doesn't really matter. Or somebody's already found the answer to that question, so you might need to take it to a different level. Another gal wanted to work with foster kids, where that has a whole nother set of legal problems. And so she had to kind of readapt how she did and use a database that was already in existence. Another gal wanted to do African Americans' reduction of teen pregnancy, and so she was really into that. But then again, with the IRB, you're working with teens, and she wanted to go through social media. So she actually ended up working more with the Division of Mental Health at the National Institute of Health, and so went a little bit later. In terms of, instead of working with teens, she worked with, I think, young African American women, and then developed an intervention, an online intervention. So she did a mixed method of qualitative and quantitative. So, but like I say, if you come in, you have a pretty good idea what you're doing, then you can pretty much sail through.
I know it's been a couple of years now for you guys, but looking back on the application process to apply for the program, what did you feel was like your strongest component that made you stand out?
For me, I think it was my teaching experience and my clinical experience, and then the research that I wanted to do. I provided them with 3 things that I'm interested in researching. And you need to find a faculty here at UCLA that has a very similar research interest that you do, and then connect with them right away. So I emailed Dr. Jordan before I even applied, just to talk to her from the very beginning to see if my research interest is valid under the PICO. Remember that? And she said, yeah, apply, you're ready. So that's how I ended up.
And I think that's a really valid point, because if you have a really wonderful research idea, but there's no faculty here to do it, then you're just going to be frustrated the whole time. So you really want to make sure that there's someone in the faculty that as you look at their research and things that kind of match up. I came into the program because when I was a coordinator, Dr. Doring, I was helping her with one of her studies that she was doing at Cedars. So I think they thought it was going to be much easier because I thought I was going to stay in this heart mode, and I had a lot of research experience and really came into the program wanted to do multi-site nursing studies. And so I had that, but this whole the veteran thing just kind of totally threw me for, but it's, it's been very worthwhile. And I think that's the other, because it's a real need that's out there. The other big thing that I had to switch with is I was very biologically based, but where the need is in mental health. And so I really had to learn. And so over this time, I got really updated in my skills in terms of mental health care, how to do research in that field, how to recruit, what are the important. So life might just take you to a totally different path, but that's okay.
And sometimes your advisor may not be the exact match for your research. Nobody here does any research on autism spectrum disorder or Filipino Americans. So the closest person who I found who would meet my needs was Dr. Hodge. So she's my advisor right now for my dissertation. She does work in American Indians and works in vulnerable populations. So I felt like she would be a good match. And my committee members also are essential for my study. I have one committee member who specializes in qualitative methods, another one in public health who has worked in the Philippines. So I feel like my whole team is pretty strong for my dissertation. So even if you don't have an exact match, it would still work out if you find the right faculty members to help support your study.
And the statement of purpose, because it's required for the application, don't be shy to send it to the faculty mentor that you... They won't. Stop. Oh, they stop. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
They stopped that now? Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
But if you look at the faculty profiles, you're able to glean into everyone's research interests and focus.
But they won't read your statement of purpose. No.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. You will.
Yeah, I really went off my my master's level looking at women's health, women's cardiac disease. So that's why I chose cardiovascular health in the caregivers.
So read through the list that we gave you in your packet. Look at the faculty on our website and look at their research interests. And I hope you guys wrote down the suggested faculty to reach out to from our faculty panel. That is definitely giving you guys a head start above other applicants that are going to apply to our PhD program. Those are some of the keepers from today. Why do you want to be known as doctor? Educational objectives. I'm sure the student panel will be willing to give out their email or contact information.
Oh, my cards. I have my card.
Okay.
Did I bring business cards?
I have cards. Yeah.
Okay.
that's about it. Thank you guys so much for taking your time out of your day coming. Really
Thank you.
appreciate
Please apply. It's a good program.
It's a great program.
Thank you guys for
It
always
looks scary,
volunteering.
but
We are retiring together.
Yes, we are.
I'm supposed to be retired too. It wasn't very smart, was it?
I promised Rhonda I'd be here every year until I graduate.
Yeah, I told them that.
Yeah, I'm here.
I didn't promise that.
I promised. I promised from day one because I remember being in your shoes, being so impressed by the program, and I mean just the orientation for the info section was so impressive to me. I wanted to come to school here.
I know. She talked me into it. I just graduated my master's. That's what I asked. And I was like, she's like, you want to go? I'm like, I just graduated a couple months ago. She's like, just come. And I have to admit, I was really impressed. I wasn't really comfortable.
And there's some wisdom in just going right on before
Anna would
life.
have been here because she was the BSN to PhD.
Yeah, I did the ADN, the BSN, the MSN.
Yeah.
So that's when
You're
you said that, I
doing
was
my
like,
path,
that's
yeah.
exactly what I did. That's why I told
Get
her.
it all over. Knock it out of the park right now.
Yeah, no, that's why I was like, you can go from bachelor's to PhD. If I knew that, and I was like, oh, but it's okay. It was a good learning experience.
And you also learn from your classmates because everyone has a different path coming into nursing. So you feed off of each other in class and everything. So,
You become a little family, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Our cohort is known to be the cohort that eats.
So that's good. Even through your independent study, you guys keep in touch with each other.
We do our best, our cohort especially. We are active on our text as a group. And our Facebook page slowed down a little bit. Everybody started going on their own little merry way.
When people start getting up to candidacy and stuff, then
that's when people start breaking off. Because then they have to
Dr. Doran shared that they started, I think, last year is bringing the different cohorts back and sharing their progress and what
progress
they're doing
reports.
and stuff. So and that helps you keep motivated and supported.
Each other on track.
Exactly.
And grounded. I'm like, okay, so that one advanced, I need to be
keep you connected, because once you advance to candidacy and working on your own, it's like sometimes it's hard to stay focused. Some are better than others, but just having that once a quarter or once a year powwow,
kind of keep motivated.
I'm lucky enough that 4 of the students that are enrolled in the program is working at the same institution that I work at. So I see Paula Belson, I see Florida, I see Tracy, and I see her. So we're always just asking each other, how are you doing? Where are you at? And the support is there. Keep going. Don't give up now. Like give yourself a break. If you can't write, just do one. She keeps telling me 1 paragraph at a time. It's okay.
1 sentence at a time.
1 sentence at a time. It's better than just staring at the wall.
there's a book out about doing your dissertation 15 minutes a day, but man, that takes a long time.
Well, and also the Graduate Writing Center also has these great dissertation boot camps over the summer. They have a dissertation proposal boot camp. And the summer I did the dissertation boot camp. And it's for enrolled students, and they basically, you have 6 weeks, and then most people come up with a full-blown dissertation proposal at the end of the summer.
Yeah, that's one thing. If I had to do it over again, I would take more advantage of what the graduate office has to offer in terms of writing and.
There's a lot of support here.
There's a lot of support.
Yeah, a lot of support.
If you take advantage of it, yeah. They won't come fight you.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
And we really hope you guys are considering applying for fall 2019.